YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. We got a 70mm EDF jet. This can be a first 6S, but it's certainly no trainer. So we've got a 6S 4000 in here. This is the second revision with the AR 631, or version 2 as I'm calling it, but Horizon doesn't seem to be calling it that. We've got it set up with the NX8, and we're basically gonna fly it right now. The sun's gonna be our enemy for a couple of minutes, and then it's gonna be our best friend. And we got a little bit of wind kind of coming at a crosswind, so we'll see how that impacts our flight performance. This is brand new. We've reviewed this plane before, but it was with the AR 636B, and we're gonna see how this does right now. Are you ready, camera crew?
Yes.
Okay, throttle cuts off. Everything final. Oh yeah, she's in the air. Look at that, just a little bit of roll. Get my aileron trims. Feels good. Real light on its feet right now. Okay, here we go. Full speed pass. So cool. You good, camera crew?
Mm-hmm.
Just nice glide here. Man, that thing looks so good.
Yeah, it does.
Relatively easy to fly plane. But I use the terminology relatively because when you get into EDFs, look at that, upside down with barely any speed. That is so awesome. So cool. In the Thunderbirds livery, which is super cool. Out of the throttle altogether. Love the noise.
Yeah.
We're flying in a little bit different rotation today. Let's see if I can get it in. See if I can get it in here. I have to kind of follow the tree line to get into high alpha. Get this low point here. Then I can kind of make a crosswind approach. There we go, guys.
That's good.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's the thing. Trying to do my regular, doing my regular janking it back and forth. Oh, crap. Okay, so we'll reset it. We got 1 minute left on the timer, so we'll go ahead and fly some more. Okay, folks, I just had my timer elapse, but we were on the ground for quite some time. Let's see how short we can make this takeoff with a low battery. Gear going up. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Just gliding it in, guys. So as you can see, it tips really bad, and that's what we exactly were expecting. What a cool plane. No problem to land on our little aircraft carrier runway. Really beautiful, flies really nice. Feel like the AS3X is maybe a little bit responsive for the wind, but the thing, I mean, just look how easy it flares. And by the way, just so you can see where we're riding that battery, pretty much all the way back, I use this first strap up and under, and that keeps it from slipping forward because we're not on the Velcro. That's a 4000 6S. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and reset. We'll go from a different position and see if we can get some road ops so we can do some long drawn out landings. That felt pretty good up there. And just so you guys know, it's not dead calm, but if you look at the windsock over here, we're obviously not, we're not dealing with the windiest of windy days, but it's definitely not dead calm either. It's kind of variable. So fortunate for us, it's not intense. It's just variable about, I would say about 5 to 10 miles an hour gusts. But wow, that thing looks good in the air. And then when you pull those landing gear up, which by the way, I don't know if you guys notice this, but the retracts, I mean, they're not as robust as on the 80, but goodness gracious, they look so stinking good. That is just so cool. And then you've got oleos, and then you've got spring-loaded mains, and I just love the way it flies. Don't even think about getting your CG here. That's the 90 and that's the 110 millimeters from the leading edge. If you get your CG set up here, this thing will need like a mile-long strip. Also, as you could see, every time that I would bring it in, I basically had to deal with if there's any rudder input, it's gonna tip down and it's gonna drag those wing tips. So don't be surprised when that happens. And for that very reason, don't leave these off in my opinion. Even though it's kind of goofy to have missiles on missile rails on a Thunderbird, my experience has been it really helps a lot to protect the plane from getting totally tipped over. If you're motivated to fix this, cut off the missile and then get yourself some carbon fiber, and then you're gonna have to cover it with maybe like a vinyl tape, and then you could actually have that strength, but you may have to cheat it out just a little bit further so that you get that protection before you actually totally tip over. So worst part of this plane is that tipping tendency because the tricycle is so long, the wheelbase is so long, and the back wheels are still relatively narrow. But in terms of actually being able to get it down, get it into the flare, slow it down a little bit, touch down, and come to a stop, you gotta remember we've got a little bit of a hill here. So we're actually going downhill. So as we touch down over here, we kind of come up to the crest of the hill and then it starts to taper back down. So we necessarily have to do that jog to slow down in our application. So that being said, you may not have that problem if you have a long, flat landing strip. So very cool. We're gonna fly this a couple more times. We're gonna reset, and just based on where the sun is, we'll check the voltages too with the XBC battery checker on this one before we get started, and then we'll come right back. Okay, so the XBC battery checker, we'll just get this one unplugged. Those IC5s are so terrible to have to unplug compared to the IC5s are awesome. The EC5s are terrible. What are you saying?
Wait.
66, 65%? Are you kidding me? Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means we could have gone for a lot longer, guys, on a 4000. That would have been like probably a 6-minute flight, and then we would have been left with about 25%. One of the fatal flaws of the AR631 in a non-smart ESC is that you don't get pack telemetry. AR637TA or AR637 would give you pack telemetry, but you'd have to run a lead and then plug it in up here, kind of like what we've done on a couple of our, basically our plug and fly planes. So if you want to see how we did that, we did it on a 2-meter Beaver. I'm just trying to think of a few. Didn't we do it on the Ultra Stick? Because that was a Hanger 9, so it was a plug and fly. So we've done it a number of times, and it's a relatively easy process. That being said, if you want to upgrade this thing, you could put an Avian ESC and get reverse thrust, which would be really cool. So just a thought. I wouldn't do it myself because I think the thing flies really good. It does allow you to slow down nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset. Now we have a 3200, and so for that reason, well, actually I have two batteries. I have a 4000 Gen 2. This happens to be 50C, and full disclosure, that was a 50C pack. The only reason we used a 50C pack in a 4006S Gen 1, this is a Gen 2, was because we basically wanted to, okay, so we ended up using the Gen 1 in this flight with the 50C. The only reason we used 50C was because the 30C was unavailable in that size. when we were needing it. So we have a 30C 3200 6S, just to prove to you that it's not a big difference. Just full disclosure, that's a little bit lighter pack. You can see it's like 700 milliamp hours, or excuse me, 800 milliamp hours less. So there is a demonstrable difference in weight, which means that we're probably gonna be able to get this thing more on the tail heavy side, where we're gonna balance at the 110 millimeters as opposed to just a little bit ahead. So the way we've got this configured with the 4000 works really sharp though, because all we have to do is undo this little configuration here. And even though we're way off the tray, which honestly, I'm not sure why they left it here on this Gen 2, but you can see this 4000 6S 50C. 50C part's probably unnecessary. We have pretty good amount of power left in that. So we could have gone, I would say 6 minutes conservatively. We were running a 3-minute timer and we were a little bit short of that actually on this one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in the 3200 6S. Also, this plane likes to tip when you pull the batteries out, so just be aware of it. I'm gonna put this sideways each time, and I actually want the discharge lead to go onto this far side. That is all intentional, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and leave this lead underneath, this, or not lead, but this Velcro strap. And then I'm gonna strap that battery in, probably so that it's basically gonna end up being most of the way back. We'll check the CG in just a second, and we can adjust after that. But what that does is that keeps it from slipping forward on you, because that's really what you're gonna have on a jet, is it's gonna wanna slip forward on you. Okay, so we're plugging this in. Our transmitter's on, throttle cut is already on and tested. And I'm just gonna let it initiate. So as it goes through the 1, then 2 dances, this plane is equipped with safe, and we do have it on. Safe select, and it is turned on. We go through the entire exhaustive build setup, unbox build, and radio setup like we usually do on this channel. You guys have come to expect that. Okay, so we're just gonna set these batteries aside. Remember, camera crew, we're going for the Gen 2 on the last flight, if we end up getting 3 in like I'd like. Okay, so now that we have all that set, I'm gonna take my fingers and we're just gonna check the CG. So on the back hole, just barely in front of it, and we're balancing out. So I would say that if this is 90 and that's 110, isn't that what it is? Mm-hmm. I would say we're at 107 millimeters. And we'll see how that works here. Obviously, the sun is kind of our enemy for a few more minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and fly off the road just so you guys can see how it really works, and we'll get set and come right back. All right, guys, we're gonna do a little back taxi for you here. 3200 6S. This thing taxis well as long as you're not moving too quick, then it likes to get tipsy. We normally don't do a lot of back taxiing, but we're gonna do it today just so you can see what it looks like. And then we're gonna try to take off toward us. The thing does taxi really nice. And you can get off the ground no problem from there. So I'm gonna go up to the crown of the road here. More clear, you good? Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. Look at that, guys. Gear going up. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, we're gonna come in here and glide. I gotta check that nose gear. Listen to that, dead silent. That is so cool. Full throttle. That's so cool. And then back around. And then safe. Here we go, guys. Here's safe, limited bank angles. As you can see, it's just kind of doing its thing. Look how awesome that is, how stable it is. Got a little bit of throttle there, about 50% throttle. Limited bank left, limited bank right. Looks like they might have mixed in a little rudder on that too. So this is gonna be a full safe pass. We'll do a full speed pass. Remember, you gotta keep the plane flying. Safe does not mean it's not gonna stall. Okay, full speed. Here we go. Is that not cool? Mm-hmm. Okay, out of safe. Sounds kind of funny when the throttle kicks in. Like, So guys, this plane, it's just one of those planes where it's a joy to fly. It helps to be more experienced as a pilot. I feel a lot more comfortable flying this than the last time we reviewed it. But I can tell you this, that's all rudder making that turn, folks. That's about 10% stick on that. Okay, so we'll try for another high-speed pass. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Nice low pass this time. Okay, going around.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Okay, so we should be safe on time. 3 minutes of flight time on 3200 6S is plenty good, okay? We're good, okay. Let's, safe and gear. Let's try safe landing just to show you how it is. I'm just using the ailerons to kind of point it down the runway. That's all. Full flare. There it is, guys. That was safe. All I was doing was basically just kind of guiding it back home. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, just to point it which way. Amazing, guys. And I also programmed a middle mode where there's no safe or AS3X. Not that we would need that.
And when you don't have to try and get it to jank around on the driveway, then it didn't tip.
Very simple, yep.
That's great.
So as mentioned in the commentary before, let's go across the street again here. So basically, guys, what I'm telling you is, if you want a plane that's gonna be your first 6S EDF jet, this is definitely not a bad choice, okay? You could definitely have a lot worse choices, and I can definitely say that I have always been in love with the way the F-16 looks. This, I will say, I am so much happier with this on the smart packs than I was on my old packs that I was running prior. I don't think I had smart packs the last time we reviewed this. I was on the DX18 too. DX18 doesn't make a big difference, but what I can tell you does make a big difference is the lighter, more concise packs. Because if you're running a bigger, heavier, alternative brand, something that's just heavier, it's a lot harder to make your CG right. And if you can't make your CG right, you can't flare. And if you can't flare, you can't shorten down that safe landing. That was a pretty long landing rollout. So that being said, let's test our voltages. XBC battery checker, if you don't already have one, probably a tool that should be in everybody's tool bag. If you've already got a battery tester and servo tester, I've been super happy with these. Since this is a Gen 1, we might try to just use the balance lead so we can leave it in there if it's good to go for a little while longer. We might clear the timer and see if we can get another 3 out of it. No, it's about 3 minutes is about right. Now, that being said, let me correct myself. When we landed at 2 minutes, almost on the dot, we were on the ground, stopped on the first pack, which was a 4006S Gen 1, okay? So what that tells me is that this pack, you know, all things considered, this is a 3-minute flight in those circumstances. If it's colder, it's gonna be shorter. We're very comfortable right now. We're not too hot, we're not too cool. So 3200 6S, this, full disclosure, this showed up as 97% charge. I don't know why sometimes the smart chargers do that, but that's what showed up. Now, our first battery, this battery, 4006S, showed up at 65% charge when we were done flying. Okay, so we started at 100, we went to 60, 65, okay? And that was 25, 30, let's call it, because there is a little bit of a relaxation cycle where you're gonna get a little bit more voltage back, okay? So let's say it was 25, 30. We could have gone 2.5 minutes times 2 would be 5. I think you'd be safe, but you'd be just running out at 6. So maybe to be on the safe side on a 4000, you go for 5 minutes. See how it is and then reevaluate. Now, if we had an avian ESC, we would know exactly what we had. And we could do telemetry alarms, which is really nice, audio alarms that would warn us when we're running out. So this is a Gen 2, clearing my timer. Since this is a Gen 2, it's still a 50C just like our first one, and it's still 4000 6S. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my timer this time to 5 minutes, and then we can reevaluate at that. We'll try to respect the timer. Whoops. So click in, Go to timer. 5. That should give us plenty of time and plenty of safety margins. Remember, the difference between a crash plane and a flying plane is margins. If you give yourself margins, whether it's margins of clearance to the ground, clearance from the lines, clearance from the trees, you know, clearance from your buddy, whatever it is. If you give yourself clearance on your timers, clearance on your voltages, you're going to be better off. It doesn't mean you're never going to have a failure, you're never going to have a problem, but it's going to give you a better experience in general. I'd rather leave 25% in the pack than have to rebuild a plane or replace a pack. And many times you lose these things when you crash because they get destroyed. Okay, so just keep that in mind. They're one of the first victims of a crash. Sometimes they get protected, but a lot of times they don't. And these batteries are getting so expensive, so you got to be careful with them. Okay, so we're going to pop this open. That little trifecta setup has been working really good. I do that in the bigger one too. But there's actually 3 straps in the bigger one, in the 80. By the way, guys, I love the 80. I love the 80. And I don't want to take away from anybody the fact that the 80 is so good. But this plane is so much more flyable in terms of takeoff and landing. It gets up quicker, it lands quicker, it's less stressful to fly. But there again, guess what? Given the choice between the two, guess what I'm gonna fly?
The 80.
The 80, yep. If I had the choice between the two, I'd be flying the 80. Now, obviously, we're gonna still review planes, and that's something you guys need to know here on Brian Phillips RC. We're not just about what I wanna do necessarily. It's also about what our audience needs to see, what they wanna see, what they demand to see, and also what the people that we work with are wanting to show you guys. So like, when they have a new product release, they obviously want us to share that with you because they wanna sell them. And we wanna review them because we wanna know if they're junk. So the thing is, when Horizon sends a plane like this, we go through a lot of trouble to do the full unbox build and radio setup. The reason we do that is because we know a lot of you guys are still struggling to convert the setup from the DX18 world over to the NX8 and future other choices, okay? So you see how it's at an angle? It's maybe not ideal, but it's okay. I can live with it, okay? As long as the battery's not gonna slip forward, I think we're good. So, I'm curious if this thing would hand launch, but I love wheels up, wheels down ops so much, I'm not gonna do it. I would totally be able to hand launch this thing. So if you're flying off of grass, you can leave the ventral fins off and you can retract the gear, but I'm just gonna warn you, those gear, the way they go in and out, you're probably gonna catch grass and all sorts of gunk in there. So timer set, we'll get the plane set and come right back. All right, guys, this will just be a regular AS3X mode, just to prove it.
Safe mode off.
AS3X. Okay, here we go. Full throttle. Nice relaxing roll. Gear going up, as you can see. That is so cool. Just so you guys know about how far that was about 700 feet of travel. Okay, here we go. Gear out. Look at the gear. That is so cool. I swear that gear was drooping down, but I toggled it and it obviously opened and closed. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Guys, I love the sound of the plane when there's no throttle. So cool. About 50% throttle in the turn there. Out of the throttle. We're just gonna glide it and show you the efficiency. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, 30% throttle. Using that rudder to get that thing pointed back down. That's so cool. Let's bring it down. Let's do a different line. You good? You good with the different line?
Sure.
Okay, here's the line. We're gonna do a little bit slower just for beauty reasons. Okay, here we go. You good? Mm-hmm. That was cool. I like that line. Okay, watch this. That comment alone is why women live longer than men. Watch this. Okay, here we go. We're gonna try some high alpha. We got 2 minutes, 50 seconds left. Okay, we're just gonna relax into this, okay? So high alpha means we're gonna get that nose up. We're gonna let it slow down. Okay, letting it slow down. Finding the stall point. Using the rudder a lot. Got a little bit too much altitude there. We'll see if we can do it on the way back. Lots of rudder, get that nose around. A little bit of throttle at the end. Okay, here we go, guys. Come on, get down, get down. There we go, guys. Look at that. That's why you need the CG back, folks. Okay, into the throttle, letting the nose come out of it. Okay, a lot of rudder, about 50% rudder there, going to the ground. Here we go, guys. Okay, here we go. You see where he is? He's way over there.
Way over there.
Just doing a quick manned aircraft check. You see him behind me there? About a mile over there.
Hilarious.
I know, it's fun. That looks so stinking sweet, guys. Oh, by the way, a Huey landed right where my thrust is right now the other day, a couple weeks ago. Ah! What happened was I got fogged out. Man, if you kick some rudder in there, you can roll that thing super fast. Well, do you guys want to see some safe action? So check this out. Straight down, safe, hands off. Okay, pretty cool, huh? Out of safe, back to AS3X. I want to see how it performs with no AS3X. Are you good? Mm-hmm. Okay, AS3X is off. Very touchy, not a surprise. Watch how fast it'll roll. About the same. That's well tuned, man. Okay, here we go. Getting some speed before I pull out. You know why?
Why?
So it's got something going across the surface. Okay, you good? Mm-hmm. I think we're gonna just respect the timer here coming up. How are we looking? Oh, 17 seconds left. Pretty cool. Out of the throttle.
10, 9, 8, 6.
Nice, guys. Look at that
Good.
rollout, folks. I probably should have flared a lot more.
But
So
it's not out of control.
No, it was actually
it's
quite
just-
easy.
Yeah.
Quite easy. It's
good.
just long.
Yeah.
But you know what? Show them the difference between that and our driveway. Just real quick, for quick reference. That's where we
the
landed
whole length
before.
of the driveway. Yeah.
And that's downhill.
With a curve.
So I'm just gonna back taxi. About 30 seconds past right now with the back taxi included. Get a little speed, get out of the throttle. Get a little bit of speed, get out of the throttle. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and take it into the drive. All right, so we'll pause and check the battery here. All right, so we got the XBC here. Let's go ahead and pop this out. Guys, we just paused for saving time on video. We don't mean to hide anything from you. So check this out. Let's see what we got. Okay. 24%.
Oh, not bad.
So 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good guess. I said about 25% was the target. I definitely like that. You know, honestly, this plane, if you can get the battery all the way back, I'd like to see it fly on 5,000 because 5,000 is a lot more popular pack size. And of all the smart batteries, all of them that we've flown, we've had by far the highest puff rate on 4,000. I don't know why. I'm talking 4S, I'm talking 6S. I don't think we had any 3S 4000s, did we? We might have had like one, but I don't know, probably crashed a plane with it in it. But anyway, the point is, there's just something about that size. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like the planes that we happen to use it with. So I'd really prefer to be 5,000. I have really no scientific measure to that. It could just be pure luck on my end. But out of all the packs we have, that's probably the only size that we've ever had issues with. So 3200, we haven't really had issues with, but we only had like 1 or 2 of them. So guys, the moral of the story is this plane is sweet. We hope that this flight performance helps you to understand just how good this thing could be in your own thumbs. It is not a beginner plane. Some people have suggested it is a beginner plane, and no, it's not a beginner plane. No. First 6S EDF, maybe, okay? If you're flying this and you're inexperienced, you're gonna make mistakes, and they're gonna be they're gonna be very high consequence mistakes, because when you land these things and you're going too fast, you end up tipping it, you'll damage it a bunch. You end up landing too slow, you're crashing. That being said, it is one of the more forgiving jets that you can fly, and it's also very beautiful. It looks super scale. It is a licensed Lockheed Martin design, which is pretty cool. I like the licensed ones because they look better. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the gear work beautifully. I love the way they look. It would probably do some like grass hops and well-manicured grass. But if you got rough grass like we've got over here where the old driveway used to go, where we've got like a lot of gravel and stuff like that, I don't know that it would be so great. So you want to be careful about that. Is it snowing?
No, I think it's corn, raining corn.
Like, can the people see it in the video? Look at this. This is so weird. Like, look over that direction. That is bizarre. This is what happens when harvest comes. Look, yep, right here.
It does.
This is a fire.
Oh, yep, it is. It's ash.
Yeah, so somebody's burning. But anyway, that's so weird. So if I sound a little raspy, that's twofold, because we went to a football game yesterday and watched our team lose. That was fun. Then secondly, they've been harvesting, like the corn right here. You see how it's all cut? Yep. Pretty cool. We actually love that this is a cornfield. And soybean field on rotation's fine, but it's a lot less cool looking in my opinion. The corn looks cool. Yeah. And also corn catches planes surprisingly well. I mean, I can't believe how well that does, because I've crashed a few times into the corn, 0 damage. You just go find it. And it's like, how is that even possible? Yeah. So anyway, we love having it there because it looks cool. And plus we don't have to worry about hitting anybody or anything. And so we hopefully will be looking at it for years to come. But at the same time, we've had a few people ask about the corn and they want to see videos of the harvesting of the corn. Well, that's not our field, but we know the people that do all the harvesting here. And we did do a short clip so you can see what it looks like. And we'll throw that at the very end of the video. And also we are going to do, as usual, our unbox build and radio setup. And so if you stay tuned for that, we go into way more detail than we would ordinarily go to on a bind and fly. But because this is a first 6S, easy to fly, we wanted to make sure to talk about more details than we would normally do. So please don't kill me in the comments. We're trying to help new people. So if you're more experienced and you don't need to see it all, just don't watch that part. But the thing is, we want you to know that this plane exists. It is awesome. It's been around for some time, so it's not like a brand new plane. But I really do like it. It is a great plane. If you don't have one, you want to think about picking one up. We have a whole playlist of this plane with the old AR636B. This plane in its current configuration flew better than our best revision of the AR636B. I don't know why. It could be a lot. My piloting skills have improved since we did it. It could be partially the smart packs. It could be a combination therein, but I think it's got to do with the weight and position of the smart pack. Makes a huge difference in the flight performance on this plane. And then also I have improved as a pilot. And that's one of the cool things about doing this. And I've explained this a number of times, but it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or some poor guy that can barely afford an F-16. It doesn't matter. You can't buy this skill of flying radio controlled airplanes. And it's not particularly easy to get started. It's easier than ever in the history of time to get started, but it's still challenging. It's harder than it looks. And so it's really cool because we can go back and look and you can see your own progression. It's really neat. So I'd encourage you, take a video once in a while of what you're doing, because it's cool to go back and you don't think it when you're yourself, but when you go back and look at some of those old clips, it will help to encourage you in your progression. So that's really good. Anytime you can encourage yourself as a pilot it's good because this is a mental game. It's obviously muscle memory and skills and things like that, but it is largely golf, just like golf. You know, golf people will get into their head and they will hit balls bad all day, and then they'll get in their head that they're doing good and they'll do good all day. And it's very strange like that. But if you're flying and you crash, make sure you have another plane, an easy plane that you can fly before you go home. It will improve your piloting skills drastically, because when you go home, you're gonna have the endorphin rush of a good flight and a good landing, and you're gonna go home and it will help encourage you to get back to the field. It's so strange. Those little things make a big difference as you go through this progression into the hobby. And I would say that we are somewhat deep in the hobby for only being 7 years, 6.5, 7 years into it.
Yep.
But I've been doing hobby stuff my whole life. So.
And I think you learned a lot even watching yourself in those early days.
Yeah.
You learn from watching other people.
I still do now.
But you learn because
Especially
you're
when we
watching
crash.
your own surroundings too. Like you're learning more about where you fly.
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. 100%. And also, if you guys want to help support us, we know you've heard it a million times. Patreon, PayPal are two very easy ways to do it. PayPal is more direct. There's less fees involved, just so you guys know, for us. You guys don't pay the fees anyway, so don't worry about that. Patreon is pretty fee happy. But the thing is, it's very easy for you guys. So we never want to guilt trip you into doing either or worrying about the fees, but we want you to be aware of it so you can make, you know, prudent decisions. So that's all we're going to say. And then we've always said this, and we'll continue to say this, the best way you can support us financially is to just buy the stuff that you love and get into the hobby deeper, buy the stuff from our links. You'll be supporting us in that way. And that is really the only thing we ask, is if you get some help out of this video, which we put, you know, essentially an entire day into producing, and then we'll probably put another half a day into getting it online. So if you want to help give us a few bucks here and there, just buy the planes, buy the batteries from the links that we recommend. And you're buying the same stuff you're going to buy anyway. So really it just helps us out. Plus it helps the people that we work with. It helps them to see that we're being productive for them. So it helps in more than one way. It's not just about making a buck or two here and there. It's about building clout in an industry that is really challenging to build clout in. So you'll be helping to take us from where we are to where we want to be, which is doing more, doing bigger, doing faster, doing more exciting. And really at the end of the day, we want to bring you guys along for the ride as we do it too. So the more people we can get in the hobby, the better for the hobby. The cheaper the prices are going to be, not right now maybe, but the larger the market, the lower the price is going to be on these things. And it's also going to drive technology that we want. So the technology is getting so much better in 7 years even, or 6.5 years. It is like night and day better. Yeah. And go 6 years before that, and it's like, okay, so the first plane I had was one that my grandpa had for a few years, and it had a sensor that saw the sky and a sensor that saw the ground, and it didn't work. And that was supposed to auto level your plane.
Oh man.
Yeah, right. And people would just immediately unhook them. So that being said, these planes are almost flying themselves, and I'm not saying they're flying themselves because I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but when they auto level, that makes the difference for most beginners. So we are going to encourage you to make the right progression through the ranks, and you're going to have a lot better experience, and you're not going to become a one and done pilot. And that's the big thing we want to do, because RC, fixed wing RC, is the most immersive and most entertaining and the most lasting RC habit that you can have. And if you have done other RC stuff, you're going to completely get what I'm saying. Even if you maybe disagree with my assessment a little bit because you're into helis, or you're into quads, or you're into FPV, or you're into radio controlled cars deep. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of those other things. I'm just saying, I find that fixed wing is the most immersive, the most entertaining, the most rewarding, the most fun. And it's honestly, it's no more expensive really than any of the other ones that we've done. I would say it's probably, you know, it's right in the middle. So that being said, we love it. We want you to love it too. Obviously, check the video description below. You can help support us in that way by clicking on the links, buying the planes. And if you have questions, just click on the links. You get more literature through those links too. And obviously this XPC 100 battery checker, we talk about it once in a while. This thing is awesome. We've used it so much. It's super nice. Basically, you can do servo testing. You can update the firmware here. You can plug in your IC3 pack, or you can use an adapter for IC5s, or you can use your balance lead. This thing, when I got it at first, I'm like, what a little scammy little thing. But it was cheap too, so I was like, whatever, it's really not even that bad. But I have loved this thing, and we have used it so much, it's incredible. So even if you don't use smart packs, you might want to get one of these because it is so nice to have. That being said, smart packs have been super good to us. We just want to reiterate that we are not nice to our packs, especially in EDF jets. And I don't know anybody who is. But the thing is, if you want the best performance you can get, in my opinion, the Spectrum packs are great. They are not E-flite packs, just to be clear. They sucked. These are awesome. And Spectrum uses an expensive plant, which is why the batteries are expensive, which is why they're good. So if you want to know, there's probably only 10 places on the planet that make LiPo batteries. And this is one of the more expensive ones. That's why they're good. That's why the failure rate is lower, not zero. Nobody has a 0% failure rate, just so you guys know. But we've been super, super happy with them. And if you have other brands that you love, I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but we've been very happy with these. Anything else you want to add?
That's about it.
All right, guys, stay tuned. Up next, unbox, build, radio setup in more depth for the noobs. Stay tuned. YouTube, Brian Phillips here. We've got a box. What is going on with this? It seems like deja vu. Maybe that's because we've reviewed this and you already know what it is. F-16 70 millimeter. This is going to be the version 2, if you even want to call it a version 2. Basically what's happened is Horizon Hobby lost access to one of the chips that they were using to make the AR-6. Oh yes, look at that. So beautiful. Fly it in real flight 9.5. Yes, you can do that. This is the Thunderbirds 70 millimeter F-16. What happened was the AR-636Bs, which was like actually technically version 2 of most of these planes, became unavailable because there was a chip they couldn't get. This is not part of the chip shortage, this is before the chip shortage. And so what happened was Horizon's hand was forced. This is also why the UMXs disappeared. Don't worry, they're not gonna stay disappeared forever, but it's quite expensive to design a brand new chip and bring it to market. So be patient. Be patient, get out. Jeez.
Be patient as you.
Ooh, look at that beautiful look. I'll tell you what, this plane looks so good on the package. It looks so good on the package. And then when I see those missiles, I think that's goofy. They don't have missiles on these, you know, these planes. But for practical purposes, this plane, you want the missiles because it does have a tendency to want to tip because the tricycle landing gear are pretty narrow and it will want to kind of do this if you turn too sharp and it'll nose down. So also, oh, that's pretty cool. Look at this picture. There's actually 2 of them. Look, that is very weird. I'm trying to figure out what happened there. Is that a screw up or is that on purpose? That is so weird.
I thought you were going to say it looks like a cornfield, like at our house.
It does, which has been harvested.
Yes.
Some of you asked for footage of the harvest. Well, I shouldn't say some. I know there was at least one person that asked about that. So we will plop some of that at the end of the video. Totally unrelated to the F-16, except that this week when we were supposed to be doing this earlier, I was like, hey, let's check these dead spots around the driveway with a spade shovel, just in case there's like a box of nails down there. And then like, you know, in true Brian Phillips fashion, 5 hours later, we had the tractor involved and we pulled out a little dinky stone. It was about 800 pounds. Yep. It's about as big as your island.
It wasn't a stone.
It was a concrete. Yeah, it was a
concrete.
We thought it was a stone at first.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, we'll just dig this thing out. Because, you know, like I want the driveway to be good and it's still a new property. And oh my goodness, this thing's in there tight.
Help?
Maybe, unfortunately. Can you hold that and I'll pull this way?
Yeah.
Don't break the foam off.
I'm going to. Hold
See?
on, stop.
You got it?
Oh yeah,
There it is.
And full disclosure, the harvest video I just did on my phone quick because we got home. Brian wasn't even home yet. when
Right.
they were doing it, and it was super windy.
And it was super dusty as usual, which is, if you guys live in the Midwest, you know exactly what we're talking about. The soybeans and corn come out of the field, and the combines are like the biggest slob machinery can get, because they're just flinging all the extra residue out the back. Residue meaning like the stalks and the dust and the everything else. Very good manual as usual. This of course comes equipped with Safe Select, and Safe Select is set up a little bit different on the AR631. The AR636Bs, which what was in this the last time we reviewed it, is a thing of the past. I don't even know if you can get them. So if you crash your F-16, you try to replace a receiver, which would be a little bit unusual. Usually receivers are one of the few things that survive the plane crashes. If you did need to get that, there may be some available, I'm not sure, but I would definitely not recommend it. Get the 631, it's so much better. So much easier to set up. Wings are very good, nice wing spar right here. Goes to about there, and a second wing spar here. So very robust, very solid plane. Got the wing tip, the rail adapter that goes there, and then reinforced plastic right here and right here. So everything is just very solid. We don't talk about that a lot, but it is truthfully solid. And yes, the worst part of this plane is putting those stupid stars on. We've done this enough, and then they give you numbers so that you can identify which plane you want to be from the Thunderbirds. So if you want to be the plane number 2 or plane number 6 or whatever it is, you can do that. So pretty cool. There is only one single servo and one control surface on each wing. So yes, in a real F-16, there would be a leading edge slat. Actually, I think they call it a leading edge flap on fighter jets. And they create droop in addition to flaperons. And the flaperons are pretty huge on these things in real life. And that's kind of where the similarities end, because you can technically set up flaperons on this plane, and it is so much easier on the AR631 than it ever was on the AR637, excuse me, 636B, which was the revision 1, and then 636A, which was the very first revision. I don't even think they ever did this one in the A. I think it was always B. So there wasn't a big difference, but you could upgrade the firmware and pretty much act like a B, I believe, on an A. So here we go, vertical stabilizer. Stiffness is there. You've got a vertical, you've got a spar that goes to about here. Okay, so let's show you up in the light. See where it stops?
Yep.
There it is. So it goes to about here, okay? Very nice decals applied on the inside of that curve. That's hard to do actually, so I'm glad they did that for us. Another 9-gram servo, can't tell, it looks like a 330, which is one of Spectrum servos, pretty standard servo. I've had a very low failure rate on them, but I have had them fail. And I've had at least one dead on arrival. So just full disclosure, that was on the Spitfire, and it was on, and was it an aileron?
That was a long time ago.
It was an aileron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I fixed the servo
Yep.
because I'm an extreme cheapskate.
Yep.
And plus, when you've got an aileron servo that goes bad, I've always found it easier. Now, this is a really bad example because it's got one wire that goes like this, but if you have a wing assembly that's all installed like on a Warbird, and then you've got, you know, contact points that you slide in, it's super, super easy to just pull this thing out of the pocket. You can literally grab onto the horn and yank that glue out most of the time. And then once you get it out, you can undo these 4 screws right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can take that assembly apart and look at which gear's stripped. And I'll guarantee you which one it's gonna be. It's almost always, there's one main output gear that gets stripped, and there'll be teeth in there. You'll literally see the teeth in this white grease. I've seen it enough times, I know exactly what I'm looking at. And it's really not that hard to fix them. All you gotta do is find another servo of that same size, take it apart, you know, from a plane that's crashed or whatever. And maybe not everybody has so many crashed planes as I do, but when you have a lot of spare parts, it works really nice. But if you go to replace this whole servo, then you have to unchase the wire. Now, again, bad example because this is so easy to do here. It would be easier to just get the servo, pull this thing out of the horn, put a new servo in, a little bit of hot glue or a little bit of China glue. CA probably wouldn't be the best choice, just so you know. I would use China glue, which is like mucilage, or foam to foam. And I have links to those down below. And then I would just peel this out. And then if you have any of that paint come off, this stuff is really hard to match. So what I do is I use a dark colored Sharpie. You can get away with a black marker or a blue marker, just a regular black or regular blue, and it will cover this up and you'll never know any better in flight. So a couple of different tips there. We used to do a lot more mods, and now we find ourselves just too busy to do a ton of them. There are screws in this little pocket here, folks. See this? Don't miss that. I mean, you'll figure it out eventually because you're gonna have to put your wings on. There are very, very low piece count on this plane, but don't let that deceive you. This plane takes a while to build because of these stickers. For that reason, we may or may not actually use all those stickers, because after you do the UMX, that's like the last time you wanna do it, because you have to do the same thing on the UMX F-16, which is no longer available. God rest its soul, that thing sucked. 28 millimeter EDFs from Horizon were just never powerful enough. They were never powerful enough. You needed 3S and it was only 2S.
Was that the same as the Habu?
The Habu UMX
Yeah.
was a 28 millimeter. It came out with AS3X first and then later with Safe. That Safe Habu was my second UMX plane, and I was not ready for it. It was so bad, but I put LEDs on it. It was so cool. And anyway, so yeah, that plane was so obnoxious because the 30 millimeters are just almost as obnoxious. You might want to go down because your exposure is terrible. Show them that. That's a 30 millimeter EDF set, and they are phenomenal, like way better than scale power performance. And the 28s sucked bad. Anybody in Horizon, if you're listening, I know you agree because you went to a 30 millimeter configuration. They just never had enough juice. So here we go. This thing is the first thing that will break off. This is rubber. Here, give it a squeeze. Nice nails. Thanks. There's a magnet in here. Yes, these things do come off. Yes, they do get damaged, but yes, they are quite easy to replace, and they're economical to replace. There are a few parts from Horizon that, and I know you guys think this too, some of the parts are really expensive, you know, compared to some of the competitive brands. And then, you know, but at the end of the day, they tend to be some of the better parts, like the servos and stuff like that. They might cost 25% more than like the cheap brand. But the thing is, they do tend to hold up a little better. These things are always real economical, like the noses. Even on the 80 is pretty economical. So if you do have a crash, it's likely to be this, okay? Also, on the bottom of this F-16, it's a beautiful body. This is before the days where we had quick decouples, but I honestly don't actually mind this, because if you have a quick decouple and you have any alignment issues, then that can cause you problems. This is not a big deal. And also, this plane isn't very big. So once you retract the landing gear, and by the way, the retracts are so cool on this. It's very simple, no gear doors, it's very simple. Look at the cheaters, guys. You don't have to screw around on this plane, full accessibility. I got a little glue that's ugly there, gross. Gross. Look, cheater, ventilation, okay? It's one thing you guys are gonna get, but look how awesome that looks. That is so cool. And look, there is hardly anything there, okay? One of the principal differences between the 70 and the 80, which you're like, how big of a difference? That's only like this much. It's like 1 centimeter, you know? One of the principal differences between the 70 and the 80 is extremely much better electronics in the 80. You have a lot bigger power system. You have smart, you have full thrust reverse, and you have a lot more scale looking plane, okay? The retracts on that are probably more expensive to make than this plane. Just my thoughts. I love this plane because it's like, I would call this like a very soft intermediate, like very easy intermediate to beginner, like hard beginner, okay? Whereas the 80 is probably a true intermediate to hard intermediate, depending on where you're landing. We also land in tight areas. So if you're thinking about getting this plane, Horizon's gonna say how easy it is to fly. only if you get the CG right. And I'm serious, most jets will fly great with the CG where they mark it, but a lot of these jets, you have to fly with the CG back and you have to get it almost basically tail heavy to get it to flare on landing. And yes, make no mistake, you can put flaperons on this plane and it will slow down, but not enough. It will pretty much roll out just as long. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about later. Okay, so we have wing spars in, these are the tails that goes all the way to the edge. You can see the dimple there. So it's literally all the way through this. Very sturdy, never heard of any problems with these, but not full functioning televator. Okay, a televator would be the tail, sorry, they have a little anhedral as opposed to dihedral, or is that still, yeah, that's just, that might still be, it's anhedral. Dihedral goes up, anhedral goes down. See this? That's gonna go into the fuse like this, and then these things move up and down at the back. That's one of my big turnoffs on this plane compared to the 80. The 80 has a full functioning televator, which looks so much cooler and it looks so much more realistic. This thing is a lot less scale than its big brother. And when I say big, or big sister rather, that's everything, folks. That's all.
Spar. Carbon fiber spar is on the bottom. It's taped.
Oh, great. Thank you for catching that. This thing is so staticky. It's crazy. So this spar is the main wing spar. Is there a second one?
Nope. That's all it's for.
So that feels fine. It's weird. I could have sworn there was two. Oh, there's two, but
It's already.
this one's where your joiner goes, but then there's also another one here that's just part of the one wing, okay? So I failed to mention that earlier. So yeah, the foam, the packaging on Horizon planes are second to none. That's not to say that they're absolutely 100% perfect, but they're very good compared to the competitive choices. So if you're buying a Horizon plane, you're pretty much gonna get the best chance at success. Again, I'm not sitting here saying they never have problems, but we have had extremely limited issues with Horizon planes. I think we had a Timber 1.5 and a Turbo Timber 1.5 that both had issues with packaging, and it was very minor. Like, I think the nose might have like pushed to where it like broke the side of the box or some super minor thing. It didn't actually stop the plane from flying. And then we had, on the cowl, there was two exhaust pipes that came out and they were like broke free or something. And that might've been just like an early releasing. Oh no, because you guys said that you had problems too. So either way, super, super minor issues. You can buy stuff from Horizon with confidence. It's definitely not like the cheapest stuff on the market, but it's also not the most expensive. And as you start getting into this hobby, you're gonna find out that Horizon is not the most expensive. You might think that when you start because you're like, wow, that's more expensive than the crap that I get from China. We also review the crap that you get from China, but we bring it to you in a way that we hope that we're communicating like, hey, this is a $100 plane when this is a $300 plane. And they're almost the same plane. Like, why would this be so much more? Well, for one, they follow the rules, which is expensive. And then for two, China doesn't generally. So they don't follow the rules. So that makes a big difference in cost and also where they're manufactured. The plants that the planes are made at are actually, there's no nice way to say this. They're just better plants. The people are better. The help is better. They're better managed. They're probably a lot safer for their employees. So the output is generally better. They have a lower failure rate. And I know this all sounds like production stuff, but that's what I do for a living. I work on production environments, on measurement systems. So I see it in real life. And so we bring you our real perspective, and that's my perspective. Everybody has a different perspective on these things. So, but that's part of the reason why you guys keep coming back to Brian Phillips RC, because we're gonna try to give you the full scope, the full picture, and then let you guys decide. Like if you don't like the 70 and you like the 80 better, get the 80. But I can tell you this, whatever you're getting, and you hear this right, guys, whatever you're getting, if you're on the fence, just go ahead and jump straight off of the fence and buy it now. Because if you're on the fence, they're gonna push you the other way in a few weeks. If you get my drift, meaning things might get a little bit more expensive. Just saying, possibly, again. And you're like, well, Horizon, you're such a ripoff. I don't wanna hear about how big of a ripoff any of these companies are. This is called shipping. This is called COVID. This is called a worldwide collective idiocy, but that's what happens. So if things that you want are available now and you're on the fence and you want it in like a month for Christmas, let's say, you need to order it like yesterday, like get it. And if it's in stock, get it now. Don't wait, because you will be disappointed. And then you'll be like, hey, Brian, the 70's out, the 80's out, the Viper's out, this is out, that's out. I warned you guys. I'm trying to warn you. I'm trying to tell you, you gotta get it now if you want it. Okay, so what are we gonna use for batteries? My camera crew and wonderful wife has informed me that my batteries were ugly, so we got a new container. I am thinking we're gonna be in this range, okay? This is what I want to fly it with, and this is what I will if we have problems. 50C is way more expensive. I just had somebody ask me on a comment today, what size battery do I need? Do I need the 50C or the 100C? Here's my answer. It's the same answer I just gave you. Buy whatever's in stock that you need, because stock issues are a bigger factor than the $15 difference in price. I'm just telling you right now. Everything is expensive right now, so you might as well almost just relax into that, because that's the way it's gonna be. And it's gonna be that way for some time, because shipping is not straightened out right now. Worldwide shipping is terrible everywhere on the planet. So as soon as that gets resolved, I think that some of the prices may resolve themselves. But how often do people raise prices and then put them back down? I'm going for never. So if you want it now and you want to pay less to save 15 bucks on a 50C versus a 100C, I'm telling you, if the 50C is out of stock and the 100C is in stock, I'm telling you, the 100C is probably going to be the same price as the 50C when they raise the price after it comes into stock. Just be ready for it. I'm warning you guys because I'm with you, okay? I want these planes, even though things are expensive and everybody's RC budget's getting compressed, I get it. But if you want that stuff, especially with Christmas right around the corner, we got shipping delays, like insane shipping delays. These companies are paying 300 to 400 times, 400%, not 300 to 400 times, like 3 to 4 times what it costs to get a container before is what they're paying now. That's what's happening. Is like they can't afford to absorb all of it. They're gonna absorb a lot of it so that they can try to be competitive, but it's not competitive when everybody's doing it at the same time. So anyway, I'm sorry. Bad news is not fun to share, but you need to hear it. So F-16, 70 millimeter, it's awesome. Let's build it right now. Let's not even stop. Let's just build it. Okay, how do we do this? Pop the hood. Oh yeah. Let's show them the AR-631. What in the heck is going on with this ferrite core? Oh my goodness. You remember earlier how I was talking about following the rules?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to know where this rule comes from? This is either UL or CE, or that might be FCC, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna start with the F something. Yep. Guys, whoops, oh, crap, oh. Anyway, hopefully I don't need that for CG.
You just like shove it in the back.
Yeah, I can put it in the back somewhere. Yeah. Whoa, really?
So
I took that Velcro out because I don't like the Velcro on the packs, but some people are very into it. These are super high quality straps. They gave us good straps. This one's glued. I hate that. This one is loose. I love that. Glued is bad. If you're listening at the Chinese factory where these get built, please don't glue that strap. It makes it very difficult to use, okay? Yes, I broke the glue. If you can do it without breaking this is plywood, not balsa wood, by the way. This plywood has a split and it's been re-glued at some point by the manufacturer, okay? Not by Horizon, but by the supplier that supplies these little pieces to the plant in China. That, when they split, they'll do this. They'll go like that, and then you'll hug the battery and it'll still hold on, but you weaken the bite to the foam then. So if they do break, get in there with glue when you're done flying for the day and glue it back down, and you'll be fine. It's not a hard thing to fix, it's just annoying. And I've done that probably on, I would say one of 6 or 7 planes, I break that thing. Because you gotta really strap them down when you don't use Velcro. So that's the trade-off. Case in point, this is a 3200 Velcro strip. This is a 4000 Velcro strip. These are 5,000, no Velcro. This is a 4,000, no Velcro. So there are times and there are places where you want the Velcro strip, okay? Just saying, from my personal experience, I always try to go without Velcro where possible, because what's gonna happen is you'll put that Velcro strip on this side and the batteries are a little bit wider than they are tall, or a little bit taller than they are wide, depending on how you're looking at it. In this plane, you're gonna need it here, but then the next plane, you're gonna need it here because the canopy won't close. So a couple thoughts. Anyway, we just share, some of this stuff is gonna be redundant for a lot of you guys, we realize, and so we apologize, but when we get into a plane that could be arguably a first EDF, which, by the way, my perspective, this is absolutely a terrible first EDF. I don't care what Horizon says, that's wrong. This plane is not a first EDF, unless you wanna be a one and done on EDFs. This plane could be a first EDF for the very best pilots, the people that are just naturals, like kids that play tons of video games, have a lot of simulator time, have a lot of stick time on a prop plane. This would be a good plane for them as a first EDF. But even then, I wouldn't do it. I would do this plane maybe second, okay? I would get the Habu, or I would get the F-15 64 millimeter. That's a much better choice for a first plane. Plus you can hand launch, belly land, you can just kind of tear it up. Really have a good time with it, plus cheaper batteries. That's only 4S batteries. This is 6S. Now, first 6S EDF, sure, that makes sense. I'm with you there, Horizon. But if you're saying this is easy to fly, I disagree. It is easy to fly, it's not easy to land, just like every other jet. Landing is the dictation. If you can't be easy to land, I don't care how easy it is to fly in a straight line. That's like saying it's easy to drive on the interstate. It's not easy to drive on the interstate. It's easy to, it's hard to enter and exit the interstate. It's hard to deal with traffic, you know, but it's not hard to drive in a straight line at 80 miles an hour, excuse me, 65 miles an hour, whatever the speed limit is. It's not hard to do that. It's hard to enter and exit and to deal with traffic and other idiots. Same thing here. Landing is that's your sticking point, okay? That's your chokehold between where you are now and getting to this plane. This plane is one of the easier EDFs in this size class to fly, but the Habu is a 70 and flies on 4S, and it is very easy to fly. It's also arguably a lot uglier. So that's just my personal opinion. The original Habu was more sporty, and then they made it into the Habu STS trainer. So the body is designed to be easy to fly, slow and fast. And it is just a rock solid platform, but it's also a lot more ugly than this, in my opinion. Okay, continuing the build. I'm sticking this on right now because I want you to see how awesome that is. Super simple. The fit on that was a little bit bad. Oh, you know what it is? It's a tape. I've seen this before, guys. If that tape is ugly, just take it off. I don't even know why they put that gross tape on there. Whoops. It does not go upside down. It's keyed. Okay, there you go. Vertical stabilizer and rudder. Okay, this is the rudder. This is a vertical stabilizer. This, of course, is what goes in, and it looks like we have to glue the thing. I didn't realize that we had to glue this. It's weird. I don't remember gluing it.
We could read the directions.
Why are we reading directions? Okay, so look at this, guys. See, I have to pull this wire through a little bit, and I can see that brown is toward my belly. I'm just it's kind of almost glued in there. So I have to pull it a little bit just to see which side's brown, because look at this. I gotta get these to match up. So the brown actually needs to be like this, okay? Just in my case, it might be different on yours. So we do these unbox build radio setups for people that we know are gonna be a little bit more inclined to need help. This plane is not a hard plane to build at all. It's just more a matter of, you know, like it just takes a little bit of effort, you know? So effort, and we want to help you work through some of the challenges of the hobby. That is a very good fit. But that also means that we're gonna have to be careful to not get glue on the sides, because that's gonna poop out all over the place. Yeah. Let's talk about what they suggest for glue, hon. What does the manual suggest?
I'm finding out right now.
I'm gonna use foam to foam, regardless of what they suggest.
Right.
But foam to foam is available from Horizon, so like for 10 or 11 bucks, you can get this stuff. There's also mucilage, which comes from Hobby King, okay? Hobby King is competitive. with Horizon Hobby, okay? This is thinner and lasts longer, and it's more expensive, significantly, like double the price. But if you have to go over to Hobby King and make a special order, you're gonna pay shipping 100% of the time because you're not gonna get enough of it, unless you order like 20 tubes of it. And don't do that because it will be dry when you cut the tip. You have to cut the tip to open it and it will be dry. I'm just telling you right now, the last time I ordered like 6 tubes of it. It was no big deal. I think I had like, I don't know, $50 or $60 order, something like that. And I just got a bunch of it. Well, this stuff will stay runny. Immediately it's runny. Also, you don't have to cut the tube, which not a big deal. I don't care about that. But you see that? It's already coming out, okay? So you gotta be careful because this is one of those aluminized tubes, okay? There's actually safety warnings. The one from China, it comes with instructions on the website. It says the active ingredients are magic. That's literally what they put. I don't know how they get past whatever the FDA
It's like
or whatever.
Blank white tube.
Yeah,
Like
right.
nothing.
So don't let your kids put it in their drawer. They'll think it's, toothpaste. But also it works good. So, I mean, it's just thicker. It's drier when you get it. And so knowing all those things, it's also a lot cheaper. It's about twice the size of this, and you get a smaller one. It's about this size for about $4 or $5.
Yeah.
So that's the last time I looked. It's been years.
This does recommend CA.
Okay, I'm not using CA.
Yeah.
Sorry. So CA, okay, what's the difference between CA, cyanoacrylite, if I'm saying that right, cyanoacrylite, is super glue. And super glue can be used alongside Kicker. Kicker will speed up the cure. And when I say cure, it's actually a chemical reaction, and it gets hotter. So if you use a foam safe CA and you use Kicker, it will speed up the process, and it can undermine some of those character traits of foam safe. So just be aware, I've not melted a lot of foam in my day, but I have melted some. So if you put the wrong glue on this, this should be safe with a non-foam safe, but I'm just gonna tell you this right now. I am not in charge of what chemicals they put in that tube, and you need to take the risk. This stuff will almost never screw up foam. I mean, you can use the crappiest, thinnest, most squishy foam that's packaging from like the crappiest thing you got from China, and this will probably not eat it, okay? Whereas foam, if you take that same piece of crappy foam, you could put it on the counter here, and you could put one drip of CA and it will eat all the way down to your counter, okay? So just remember, this stuff is high density, very, very good foam, okay? So I'm gonna pull this cap off, see how it's already coming out? What a mess. That's one drawback of this style, because the tube keeps its shape, and so it's always pooping out. We've been using this tube for probably over a year, and it stayed good. So I'm gonna go straight to the bottom, okay? Just kind of doing a little zigzag pattern. This stuff is clear. It does work very good, okay? And there's a couple other brands, but like this is just the stuff that Horizon recommends, and so I go with it. Horizon sells some CAs. I actually don't use the CA that Horizon recommends. Not that there's anything wrong with the stuff they have. I'm sure it's fine. It just happens to be that I like Bob Smith Industries, which is what a lot of your hobby shops are gonna carry. And I've been very happy with it's BSI, Bob Smith Industries. And I use their CAs, and I've always been very happy with them, except the fact that CA in general is a pain in the butt. It always cures in the tip, and you always drilling holes to open it back up, and watch what I'm gonna do. This is called a contact cement or a contact adhesive. I capped my glue, it's sitting over there. You see what I'm doing? I'm spreading this with a Q-tip. Why are you doing that, Brian? Because I wanna activate the glue. This is gonna get chemically reacting with the air, okay? Because this is in a sealed tube. Why is it in a sealed tube, camera crew?
So it doesn't dry out.
So it doesn't chemically react.
Oh, so the reaction doesn't start.
With the atmosphere. I don't know if it's the oxygen or the carbon dioxide or whatever chemicals in the air, whatever chemical makeup your air is, but I can tell you this. So now I'm gonna put a little bit on the bottom of the wing, okay? This doesn't have paint on it, it just has a little overspray. If you're really super anal and you really wanna take and scrape that up, be my guest. You know, that's probably one of the overplayed things I've ever heard in the hobby. I've not had a lot of control surfaces break off in my day because of poor gluing, and I've rarely done that. I used to do it when I was new in the hobby, and all I found is it's just a lot harder to take them apart when you need to get them apart. You know, but whatever. If you guys think it's the right thing to do, go ahead and do it. I just think it's a waste of time. So you can take your X-Acto knife, turn it over backwards so that you take the blunt edge instead of the sharp edge. Ow, 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 blunt edge. And you just kind of score it, make a little hash pattern. Now, you'll note that I'm doing nothing with this right now. I'm just jabbering like this. That's what I'm best at. I'm gonna let that sit for like 2-3 minutes. And then when I put those things together, it will be almost impossible to get apart until you need to fix it. And you're like, but why is it gonna come apart then? Because you're gonna use kicker. And you're like, what are you talking about, Brian? You just said not using CA. Yes, CA is accelerated by kicker, but guess what else kicker does? Kicker breaks that glue down. It also breaks down your paint, so you gotta be careful, okay? You can put that stuff in here, kicker, which is accelerator, CA accelerator, and Bob Smith Industries sells that stuff too. We have links to kicker in the video description below from Horizon, because we know that when you're ordering the plane, you may wanna order some of this stuff, okay? You can leach that stuff in there and it will actually debond the glue, believe it or not. You don't have to believe me, just do it. Okay, so now the glue's good. We're just gonna let that sit for a few minutes. Obviously, one of the next things we need to do is get the wing on. So I'm sort of reluctant to do that right now. We have to also glue the tail on. Kind of torn on what's the next best move. Why don't we do this? Why don't we'll pause, we'll give that like 1 minute and then we'll come right back and just pick up where we left off. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and set this in here now. The other thing is mucilage a lot stinkier, which I actually don't care. I don't care how stinky it is, I want it to work, okay? This stuff has a little bit of a scent to it, but it's not like anything insane.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, so now I'm just gonna push that down and I'm gonna forget about it forever, okay? There it is, done. And it's perfectly clean and clear. Now, sometimes this stuff will bubble up out of the seam and it'll go like, all you gotta do is find that little ball that comes out, grab it, rip it off, throw it in the garbage can, you're done. And it will come off clean, but it may take off the paint, so you gotta be careful how you handle it. Okay, so we got the vertical stabilizer on. This is a plane stand. One of our wonderful subscribers sent it to us because they got sick of watching us struggle without it, and that was very much appreciated. Okay, so that's sitting there. So thank you. We have to glue these surfaces here. Now, when you have a plane that has a lot of mold release left on it, and when I say mold release, I mean mold release as in, a lot of times on white planes, you'll see that there's mold release. Where there's painted planes, you don't tend to find mold release because they have to clean that off to get the paint to stick, like they do that. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these and dry fit them. Okay, nice, clean, simple fit, except for this wire is supposed to go along this channel. So I'm gonna have to probably glue that down first so it's flat. Then I'm gonna put the far one on first so I can keep closer to my belly. If you guys have built a lot of planes, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. As you get older, like virtually everything works worse, okay? So I don't like reaching because it's hard on my back. And if anybody's been injured in some way, back injuries are a pain. And so like when you do a lot of this, it's really hard on your back. So my recommendation is figure out a way to get your table as high as possible so you're just right at the right work height. And awkwardly as it may be, it's very hard to film this stuff, but when you're standing, just try to get in there tight to it and it'll help a little bit. It's still not comfortable though. Okay.
So I'll reach over here.
Yeah, the camera crew can. Well, you can support your body though. I have to use my hands.
Yeah, that's true.
So I put a little glue down there. And normally I would glue both sides, but because I can't get in there, I'm just gonna like work it a little bit, okay? Just to the point where it tacks up a little bit. And then I'm gonna leave it. And yes, we do have Q-tips and glue in our kitchen, so you may have to go to like your garage or maybe your, wherever your workspace is, you may have to go there to get your glue. If you don't have it in the kitchen, I'm sorry. Not everybody can be so lucky. So the Q-tip, now I'm just spreading this all the way down the length of this, and I got it on this flat surface. Can you show them over here, please?
I don't know.
Yes. See, there's this little face right here. I want you to get glue on that, right there. Can you see? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you see how I'm gluing here? Because there's not a lot of contact area, folks. Hear me when I say this. You need to go out of your way to make sure you get it all the way along the sides of these things. Don't worry about so much. I mean, you can do a little bit there, but you don't need a ton, okay? Try to get everywhere you can that's reasonable, okay? What the heck is this bug? Like, what, did you just come for the party or what's the deal? What's the deal?
So annoying. They're everywhere right now.
Okay, so then this, now that that's tacked up, I can just push that in and look, it sticks. It sticks. It's not sticking super hard because I haven't given it a long time. You see how it's just flattening out? That's what I'm going for because there's a little ledge right about there. And that ledge is going to allow us to put that on without having this stabilizer have problems, okay? Because you see it's a flat surface, like this is flat right here. So you can't actually have that wire interfere with it or it's gonna wanna push that stabilizer out, okay? Also, if you get a lot of this glue on your fingers, it's maybe better than dealing with like CA because you'll get your fingers glued together like this. You can usually roll them apart with CA, but on this stuff, if you do get a lot on there, you can use kicker and it will break it down too. And then you can just ball it up and throw it in the garbage can. Super nice. All right, so now, since we know where the surfaces are, we can go ahead and get the glue on here. I'm gonna go a little bit lighter on this side just because I wanna make sure I don't like make a giant mess, but I know where I can glue because I just went through that process on the other side, okay? And then I'm just gonna spread it out with the same Q-tip, super simple, no big deal, really easy. And then I'm gonna let that sit for a minute or two. And so because of the nature of this plane, there's a second one over here and it's exactly the same process. So I don't wanna bore you while we glue the other side. So I'm just gonna get the glue on, we'll come right back. Okay, so we glued this side, we got everything covered. Just notice I had a drip. If you have a drip like that, you can either leave it and then peel it off when it's dry, or you can kind of get up under it and just kind of pull it off and it'll come off pretty good. If in doubt, if you let this dry for a few minutes, you can actually take and peel all of it off and get 100% of that glue, which is nice. Okay, so this one's the one that's gonna go over here, so we'll let that sit and cook for a little bit. We're gonna let it chemically cook off. And this is gonna stick in here. And I'm just kind of double checking all my positioning. Because remember, when you let that cook off, it will not slide. It is gonna stick. So I have to come in here carefully and just like slide it together and minimize my contact area until I'm ready for it to glue. Now watch how hard it is to push. See how it's like pretty much there. Like you are not moving it, okay? And then don't be afraid to push hard, you have to, okay? So once that sits together, then you have to kind of make sure that all your seams are tight, okay? Did I get glue there or did it come like that? Yeah, I got glue there.
Did you?
Yeah. So now I'm gonna take my same Q-tip, the one that's kind of gross and dirty and it's got like glue all over it, and I'm gonna walk over and just pick up that little bit of overflow. That overflow doesn't need to be picked up right now. You can do it later. It's actually not a problem. And I'm just gonna put my finger in here by the fuse and I'm gonna push this tight because I wanna collapse this little crack here, okay? And you'll note that that's pretty much together. Now, I don't wanna let this set up any more than it has to, so let's go ahead and get this done. You see how little stringies there? Mm-hmm. That's usually a good sign. That means that you got it activated good. I did about 1/3 as much glue on this as I did on the base. Why did I do that? Because if you do a little bit more on here than you do on here, you get a little teeny bit of flex so you can slide it in, but you don't want it so messy that it just poops out everywhere because it'll make a mess. This one was probably applied a little bit more appropriately for time. Normally I want it to be tacky like this, but because we have to slide this into position, it's actually quite difficult to get it into position. So if you do that with this China glue, you're gonna find that it goes in there and you're able to slide it in a little bit. And this is what I'm gonna do on mine. Now, you don't have to necessarily do this. Stay where you are there, camera crew. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do this, but I'm gonna do it for the sake of time. Because we're gonna be filming a flight, if Mother Nature permits, I wanna make sure that I can fly it. And I wanna make sure that I can have a certain level of security right away. Okay, so I'm gonna push this in tight. See, I'm pushing it in tight. I'm gonna use my belly, kind of tip this plane like this, get this to where I can manipulate it with my belly a little bit. Yeah, see, it's wanting to push off funny. So once I push that in tight, I want it to stay, okay? So it's a little challenging. It's giving me a little bit of a fight, putting up a little bit of difficulty for me. So I'm gonna pull it with the tape and then just cinch it down, okay? See, I taped right here. Then I'm gonna stick my thumbnail in there, and then I'm gonna just tape that. So I have this real small surface area here. Why that corner? That corner is important because that's what's sucking the wing in tight, okay? Then back here, kind of the same thing. Now that I've got this tight, I can pivot this back in, okay? See how it closed that gap? So I'm gonna use just an equally small piece of tape. It's not like this is what's gonna hold the plane together. That's just holding it together to cure, okay? And then like it can just stay on there. It's not gonna hurt anything. So I'm gonna take and stick this down, okay? So it's bonded to the wing. Then I'm gonna pull it tight and get those two pieces tight in the joint. And then I'm gonna just push the tape down, okay? Done. I'm not gonna think about it again. Except for I'm gonna think about this. Cut that off, okay? So now, try to flip this thing around. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. But you can see, like I said, I let that sit a little bit longer, so we may not even need to tape it. But just for good, see, it doesn't move. Like, see this? I'm gonna take one for the team here if this breaks. Watch. Okay? That's like 2 minutes later, guys. So for those of you that are like, leave it to sit overnight, give me a break, people. Like, who is gonna leave it sit overnight? You are the most patient people ever. I'm gonna be flying this in 20 minutes, okay? And by 20, I mean Brian Phillips 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like an hour in 20 minutes. But yeah, I'm not waiting around overnight. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna build this thing. I'm gonna go fly it like today, because that's what we do. Now, I tape that down, get a little bit of bite, and then I'm gonna pull, and you can see I'm stretching the tape, and then I'm just sticking it down. That's all I'm doing. It's just a little extra protection, a little bit of insurance. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for like, hey, I didn't use glue, so I'm gonna tape it. No, that's not what I did. I want you guys to hear that clear. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna pull this tight, push that forward, this tight, okay? Then I'm taping it. Just little extra insurance. It's not like that's what's gonna hold the wing on, okay? Now, look what I'm gonna do. Watch this. This is gonna be a pretty miraculous event here. Look at this. Look how nice that looks. Look how perfect that looks. That is so cool. Look at that, anhedral, perfect geometry, maybe. Now, if in any doubt about the security of that plane, of those wings, what you can do is you can take and do one more tape if you want to tape it, okay? Probably worth it, given that we're gonna be doing this fairly quick. If you were gonna let it sit overnight, you kind of need to babysit the joints and make sure that you don't have wings sagging on you, okay? So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna put this down here and I'm gonna tape it to the wing. I'm not gonna tape it to the fuse yet. Then I'm gonna pull up on the wing to close that so it's tight like a toiga. And then I'm gonna roll this into the tight joint right here with my fingernail. Okay, see how I did that? Then I'm gonna tape it and then it's gonna be done. And believe it or not, that'll hold that joint because there's nowhere for it to go, guys. Okay, same thing here, and then you've got 4 points of contact on each of the stabilizers. Now, obviously the vertical stabilizer is not gonna be subject to the same issues because it would probably go in there with pressure and no glue, okay? Just to be totally frank, you probably don't need to worry about it at all, okay? So I'm gonna do about 60% here. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna walk up there with my fingernail, get it so it's mostly tight. I'm gonna lift up with my belly while pushing down on the plane. I'm just gonna roll that in. See how I did that? Super, super easy. Some of these steps are really easy. They're not rocket science. I don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence. Some of the stuff you'd figure out on your own, but I'm doing it for the sake of the people that really don't know and they're just new to the hobby. They're still learning. So please listen to what I'm saying in that context. I don't want you guys to hear me wrong when I say these things, because some of you guys have more experience than I do. A lot more, okay? So I'm gonna push up on this. Yeah, everything feels solid. So I'm gonna start back here on this one. Actually, that worked really nice. Okay, so about 60-40. It's like 60 down on the surface. And then I'm just gonna walk it up there with my thumbnail or my pinky nail, pull it tight. and then roll it up on there. So you see we've got the tape tight in the corner. That's the key. If you just flop it down on there, you might as well just not do it, okay? Or if you're not in a hurry and you don't care about taking off the finish of this, you can take a piece of tape and you can actually put it on upside down, and then you can use that like a saddle, and you can tape all the way around and pull everything together. I know it's kind of stupid, but I've done it before on planes. Okay, and you'll note that this one's just a little bit longer, probably about two inches or so. Okay, so I'm gonna go along the leading edge of this horizontal stabilizer, and you see all I'm doing is I'm just walking it up into the corner. Okay, just like that. So it's just kissing. Then I'm gonna lift it to the best of my ability, and I'm forcing my finger into the crack, so it's actually depressing the foam. Then I'm just rolling it up, and you're done. Okay? See how nice that looks? Give them a close-up. You literally can't see it. See how it's peeled away here? Give them a shot from this angle. You see what I'm seeing. You see how it's pulled away there in the corner? That's not ideal. That's what I was trying to avoid, but like a little bit of it is fine. All we're doing is we're just kind of keeping the joint honest. Okay? So now that's gonna give us the added layer of security that you may not need. If you use CA, CA is very fast acting, but it's also brittle. And it is not the way that they glue these fuselages together when they come from China. Why? Because the China glue is actually better. It's just not as fast, and Horizon knows that you're not gonna wait overnight. So don't wait overnight, just use the tape and do it like Brian did. Okay? So we got the main challenging part of this build done. Now everything else should be downhill from here. This is one area where people wanna be careful. On the big boys, the 80 and the 90 millimeter Viper, so the 80 millimeter F-16 and the 90 millimeter Viper, these things slip on like missile rails. Very, very, very good modification to the design on this one. These things are glued on, and guess what happens? If you go to belly land, what do you think is gonna happen to these?
They will be gone.
They will immediately be gone on your first landing. And these are called ventral fins. Ventral fins act to help stabilize the plane, similar to the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizers, but you have 5 of them. So this thing is like a dart. It's very good on stable flight in a straight line, which is good. That's what you want on a jet, you know, a fast airplane. So let's talk about these for a minute. Why do we glue only the back? Why?
Because you need access, if you need to access that hatch. 2
comes off.
Yep.
These come off with that hatch. Yes, that is an accessible part. I believe you can order that thing. Please, guys, don't kill me because I don't know. Things change sometimes. So like you might be watching this video and they might have stopped selling you. See where I put the glue? You want to keep it on this component and not on this component, okay? So all I'm doing is just put a little bit in there just like that, and it kind of gooped on me, gooped a little bit. You see how it just keeps coming out? That's one of the principal complaints on this type of product, this foam to foam, compared to mucilage. Mucilage is probably twice as thick as this and thicker, meaning it will literally dry out in the tube sealed. So you have to be aware. This stuff doesn't, and that's why I recommend it, because even though it's more expensive, you'll probably get more gluing out of it, unless you're building a big plane and you're going through the tube like right away. And that is one thing, mucilage will dry out. Once you cut it, it's pretty much like a ticking time bomb. It's gonna be out and it will not come out of the tube. You will literally sit there and you'll have to heat it up in hot water or some sort of, like you fill up a tall cup, like, let's show them like a mason jar or something. You can put water in this, put it in the microwave, heat it up for like 3 minutes, then you put the mucilage in and it will loosen the glue. What a pain in the butt.
And it'll still work.
It'll still work.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, so you can do that. Okay, so these ventral fins are not as critical, so I am definitely not gonna put any glue on the side, but I am gonna do just a little teeny bit along this surface. Now you can just glue one side, but I'm telling you guys, it won't work near as good, okay? Just try to glue both if you can tolerate it. It's gonna give you a lot better finished product. Okay, now I'm not even squishing this and it's already starting to seep out, okay? So you just gotta be super careful. These aluminized bottles are really bad about that. Do you know what I mean when I say aluminized bottles?
Yeah.
Okay. What does it mean? Just for people that don't get it.
The bottle is
like
actual,
aluminum.
yeah.
It's aluminum.
Instead of like a plastic toothpaste tube. Yeah. It's like metal.
Yeah, it's metal.
But it holds its shape when you...
So when you squeeze it, it's just like goes to this and it stays there. It's got memory. It's got no elasticity to it.
I'm trying to think, what else is in a tube like that?
I don't know. They usually don't do it because it's expensive.
Well, okay, tomato paste in a tube comes in a metal tube like that.
Why?
Like an aluminized tube.
Because of light, right? Blocks the light better.
Actually, I think it has to do with the way that the
pH?
acid in the tomatoes reacts.
And it'll discolor the plastic, I bet.
Yeah, that's gotta be why. But it's that same kind of tube. That's like the only other thing I can think of.
Yeah, but you use a lot of the tube, right? On
Right.
cooking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do the same exact project here. And guys, none of these steps are hard. I make everything look harder than it actually is.
It'd take longer than it actually should.
Well, I'm trying to teach people. It takes time to teach.
It does. I know.
You're a teacher, for goodness sake.
Was.
For those of you that don't know, my camera crew and wonderful wife was a teacher by trade for many moons. And now she is not a teacher by trade, except for our wonderful children's. Okay? All right, there you go. You guys always get to learn a little something new every time you see one of our videos. And we got 1,600 of them. So believe me, when you put 1,600 videos of yourself out there, there's gonna be a lot of really foolish things that slip out on accident from this orifice. We're gonna let that cook for a minute. Some opinions do change over time, just so you guys know. Try to be as consistent as possible, but there are times and experiences that change what you might think about certain products. So, without further ado, that's gonna cook for just a second. We do have to install these linkages. And it looks like we have 4 screws.
For the wings, right?
So, very low piece count, but
Yeah.
you do need glue, and it does not come with glue in this kit. So if you're ordering this plane, order foam to foam with this plane. If you don't already have a tube, or if you already have a tube, make sure it's running still. I mean, if it's been sitting in your kitchen cabinet for 6 months, you're gonna be fine. If it's been sitting there for 7 years, you might wanna check it. I have a sneaky suspicion it's gonna be good in 7 years. We've had ours for a long time.
We have.
The only reason we don't use the foam to foam every time is because we get stuff from Dynam when we do Dynam builds, and sometimes they'll send like 4 tubes, and then other times they'll send like 1. It's like, wait, I need 4 tubes on this plane, not that.
Yeah.
And it's just typical Dynam.
Are we
BS.
out of dynam glue?
We are. We might need to do another Dynam just to get
No.
some free glue. Oh,
I'll
definitely
go
not
find-
worth it.
I'll go find change in the couch cushions or the car seats.
Tube. There's a wing joiner, wing spar. Okay, we're not gonna tape these at all. If they poop out a little bit, I'll just push them back in. Okay, so this goes in here. If you ever have difficulty in inserting the rod, give it
a little twist.
First of all, make sure it's the right hole. Secondly, sometimes you gotta take a sanding block or a sandpaper and just notch you can just run it around like this, and you can kind of smooth the tip, okay? And then that'll just ram right in there. You'll have no problems, okay? So that doesn't look right, does it?
It does not.
Leading edge slats though. This goes over here. I just lost all credibility with my audience because of that comment. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a couple twists. No glue necessary. Do not glue this. Please don't. Okay, and if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of that. Okay, so color for color. So brown is gonna go down just like it is on my wing. And camera crew, would you please use your free hand to hold that tail up? Why didn't you use the free, what? I didn't want you to lift it. Just stop it from rotating.
Okay.
Let it down some. There you go. Thank you. Goodness gracious.
Couldn't cross my arms.
So powerful. Was like trying to prove something over there?
No, I thought you wanted it flat.
Look, I can lift it. Jeez. Okay, so now we just kind of stuff this in the hole. Ooh, get in there. Get in there. Okay, look how nice the fit is. Show them. Show them. Show them. Look. Why is that squished? I didn't squish that. Mine's pre-squished. What's going on here? Okay, so that's it. You notice that was super easy.
It was.
If you're watching at home and you're thinking, that seemed too good to be true, trust me, it was not too good to be true. That was just the way it was.
Yep. Do you want me to go get my flower vase of nut drivers? I didn't grab that earlier.
There's no nuts involved with that. They're hex drivers.
No.
Whoops. Well, I mean, believe me, if you have drivers in your flower vase, there are no nuts involved.
That is true.
Zero.
See, baby.
Not even a single pair. So we're just gonna grab this other wing. See, I just dropped those in just like this. Whoop. Then I'm gonna just get this. This is to balance the plane. It just makes it a little easier because it's not gonna tip over. And then every once in a while, like while you guys are building this and not filming yourself do it, like a weirdo, if you look back here, you can just kind of occasionally check these joints, kind of make sure everything is solid and not like lifting or doing weird things. See, everything feels good. It's not like it's falling apart, okay? And same thing here. We're just gonna look, brown is up on this aileron. So I'm gonna pull this out. Brown is now up. I'm just twisting it. You can't twist this one, so you gotta twist that one, okay? And back this off just a hair so I can get my thumb and finger in there. I'm gonna twist it. I know it's very hard for you guys to see. I can barely see myself, but sometimes you gotta work in the dark to get the job done. Just saying, okay? So it's stuck in there. Now I'm just gonna ram it the rest of the way. Oh my goodness. See, nice deep pocket, no problems at all getting that connector in there. Ooh. See, some of the planes of yesteryear have not got the problems of current year. Mm-hmm. We've done some planes recently where we've had a heck of a time getting connectors like that together.
Yeah.
Because you don't have enough room to manipulate them into the pocket.
Right.
What plane was that? It was the X-Fly Sirius on the vertical stabilizer.
Was it the Sirius or was it the...
Sirius. Seriously, Sirius.
Seriously.
I don't think it was the X-Fly A7. And then we also had a problem with another one, which was, it was a FMS Skytrainer.
Oh, yeah.
1.25. Guys, if you think, okay, if you're new to the channel and you aren't aware of it, we have hundreds, literally, of planes. Hundreds of planes, multiple hundreds. And we review them for the benefit of you and also because I love flying them and my wife tolerates it, okay? So in case there was any doubt, if you're thinking of a plane and you're like, you know what, I bet Brian's done that, then the answer to the question is maybe, I probably have. But there are, you know, we don't work with every company. And yes, we have a certain vetting process that we do with companies. And we believe that to be a factor involved with why we don't work with certain companies. Not going to name any names. For instance, has lots of cool jets that I would love to review and full scale, bigger helicopters and things like this that I would love to review. And for whatever reason, I just think that they probably are scared we're a little bit too honest. And Horizon, they trust us, you know, and we tell the truth. So I don't know, I'm just saying, if you're scared of people telling the truth about you, you gotta probably question some things, just saying. Not that that's the only reason. They also have an in-house marketing department, which is weird because Horizon also does. Mm-hmm. And yet they still have third parties doing videos for them. Yeah. Weird. Huh. Strange. I don't know, just something to think about. Anyway, I'm sure I've interested a few of you with that, perked up your ears a little bit with that. And just for the record, folks, we also review the Chinese stuff that's really super high quality. But we're gonna let you know.
Is that your measurement of Chinese high quality?
We're gonna let you know how the experience is. And then you can make your choice. Because really, at the end of the day, what do we do here? We help get people into the hobby. We help get people back into the hobby, and we help, one of our biggest things, we want to stop one and dones. One and dones are where people get an airplane and they literally quit after they're done crashing that airplane. And I think there was a certain syndrome that happened with the Draco. And of all the planes it could happen with, I did not expect it to be the Draco. The Draco is an awesome plane. And there were some people that had some trouble with the landing gear. And the landing gear have a carbon fiber reinforced spar thing that comes out like this. It's very complicated. And then there's some plastic housings that come up, and then there's like these two king shocks. They're actually oil-filled shocks. And then there's a trailing link adapter, and then there's a big old wheel, okay? And it's just a beautiful setup. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous plane. One of the most beautiful, the most complete, the most scale. bind and fly planes we've ever had in the entire time we've been doing this. And we've done, like I said, hundreds of planes. Not all of them are bind and fly, by the way. And anyway, so what happens is people, they get a plane like this, and then they're like, oh yeah, well, my buddy over at the field, he had a problem with this landing gear. Okay, yeah, sure, he did. Because have you seen what he did to the other 17 planes he has? They're all crashed. So you guys got to take that with a grain of salt, for goodness sake. Now, there are people that are good pilots that have had problems too, I'm sure. But you got to remember, when there's like 10 million planes made, there's going to be a couple that have problems. And if you were going to buy a plane that has potential for a problem, who better to buy it from than a company that's going to actually make it right, like Horizon? I'm just saying that. I have to throw that out there because I've heard a few of you have asked a question, and you're asking from from the right place. We're like, hey, we actually believe you, and we want to know what you have to say about it. And then there's also another issue that people bring up on the Draco, and that is that the tail feathers slip into a notch and they clip. They clip like this because they're big. I mean, it's a big tail feather. And speaking to the horizontal stabilizer and elevator, and I don't get it, because I had mine pop off. I straddled the plane and gave it throttle, and it popped off on me. And then I was like, oh, well, that's pretty stupid. So I fixed it. Then it was done. I've never thought about it again until I started seeing it come up in comments. Well, because we reviewed it months before a lot of you guys got it. And so now I guess it's turned into a bit of a thing. And I'm like, guys, you got to put into context what people are saying. Like, is that guy a good pilot? I mean, Zane, the kid that comes and flies with me once in a while, good kid. He screwed up his Draco because he crashed it. And guess what? Zane fixed it. He bought the parts, he fixed it. Everything is hunky-dory and he still loves it. But it's like, he knew he screwed it up. I knew he screwed it up. Everybody watching the video knew he screwed it up. So anyway, it's just like, you guys, when we fly airplanes, you got to remember, there's a certain level of risk that we put ourselves in of crashing. So,
and it's not a real plane. It's not like the actual Draco. It's
yeah, but even
the
actual Draco,
crashed.
Even the actual Draco, if you land it too hard, you're gonna rip the gear right off of it. So there are limits, even though it's a good plane. Same thing with this, and I've had some people ask me about grass ops on this plane. I would say the grass ops on this plane are okay in a very, do you guys see what I'm doing?
I was gonna say, you wanna tell the people?
I get needle nose pliers, and I'm just spinning this a few times. I'm just going in, and then I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna do that to both. But it's story time.
Okay.
Megan,
keep going. Sorry.
I mean, camera crew, sorry. So anyway, so what's going on is, sometimes when a plane is extremely popular, lots of people that wouldn't ordinarily buy a plane, and they become a victim of one and done. Meaning, hey, I fly helis, I wanna get into fixed wing, the Draco looks sweet, I gotta have one. So they buy it and they crash it. And then they've got a $600+ plane, they got a $190 battery, and they crash it and they're like, I'm never doing it again. We don't wanna make one and dones out of you. We want you to start in the appropriate place, work your way, progress your way through the hobby. There is a point, by the way, where you get progressed enough that you can do any plane you want. You can get a turbine jet with 2 turbines in it, and you'll be just fine, because there is a certain amount of, riding a bike, It's like riding a bike. You get to a certain point where your skill level is here, and you just can fly whatever you want. I'm not saying I'm there, by the way. I'm 6 years into this, 6.5. Or is it 7? It's pretty.
Almost 7.
Almost 7. I'm almost 7 years into this, and I feel like I could fly any plane that I was put up against. But the harder planes to fly take more practice, and they take more patience, and they take more room. We fly in a pretty tight environment, and we do push the limits because we want to make the videos fun, It's like, not just because we want you guys to see them, but that's part of it. I enjoy seeing these things flying next to the tree and next to the road and near the power lines. Not like that. That's just a function of our environment. But I mean, we have like 100 acres with 3 houses. Okay, so we got this place to do it. So, and more to come on that next month. But anyway, so now that we've worked those in and out, that was quite the spiel, man. It's like all sorts of spiels
and
today.
I was gonna say, we know that everybody has a budget, and everybody's budget is different. So if we only show you
expensive planes,
that doesn't
then it's like,
help
then
you.
we're leaving so many people out.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, if you guys are in New Zealand or if you're in Europe, I mean, I feel for you because it is a lot harder to get the Horizon stuff, and it's good. So at some point in history, it would be nice for us to have an easier way for you to help support us in that manner. But while we're talking about it, if you want to buy the planes, when you buy from the links, we get small commissions from these manufacturers. Yeah, this one's too long. I'm just eating them up. That's the way we fund our channel. So if you guys were wondering, when you buy a plane, we get a small commission. We can't talk about how much it is because that's part of our NDA with companies. So when we talk about it just so you guys know that we're trying to be honest with you, because we are. And that's how we fund the channel. We feel like that's the best way. But like, I don't care if you buy this one or you buy that one or you buy that one. I don't care which one you want. I want to help you know why you would buy this one versus that one. And that's some of the value we're trying to bring you, is help prevent one and dones and then help you know what's available. I mean, you get a professional pilot from Horizon and they can make the biggest turd look awesome. And I know some of you guys think, yeah, but you're a good pilot, Brian. I'm getting better. I'm not a terrible pilot, I admit that. But the thing is, I'm still a new pilot. I've only been doing this 7 years. It's not a very long time. So this one needs to go in another half a turn. So at the end of the day, we're not trying to push you into something that's not right for you. We want to get you into the right plane at the right time with the right budget in mind for the right reasons, in the right environment, and the right skill level. That's a lot to consider. And if you're new to the hobby, there is so much to learn. Oh man, look at that ball joint. It's like a big plastic chunk in there. I bet that's gonna be kind of hard to get in there. You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
Let's take an X-Acto knife and clean it out.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so X-Acto knife. Ooh, I have a ball joint tool. See, John, I do use your tool. See, John sent us this, okay? John is one of our longtime subscribers. And he sent us this tool because he got sick of me being lazy and not using tool. Okay, look. See this? X-Acto knife, very sharp, be careful. 2 ways people get hurt in this hobby. And no, I'm not even gonna mention people getting hit by planes because it almost never happens. It's a statistical anomaly that is almost an impossibility. You see this? Clean that right out. That was easy. Yeah. Okay. I've never had to do that I know of. Very weird. Kind of a cute QA thing that shouldn't have happened, but still, it was so easy to fix. And I'm looking and just studying this. It looks like there's not an innie and an outie. Okay, so we're good either direction. You can go in either direction.
Either way? Well.
Yeah. Either way. So, ordinarily you would stick this into one of these 3 holes, and then this would roll down, and then this would snap on, okay? So, obviously we are gonna have to turn it on, get these things centered, make sure we're out of safe, and then we'll go ahead and put these in. Now, you're thinking to yourself, but why would you wait and do that? Because it's actually kind of hard on these things to pull them in and out, okay? So we're just gonna wait. It's a lot easier on us, it's easier on you. You've got less BS to watch us go through. And then this, of course, is a special tool. You see how it's kind of got that little protrusion there that's round. Watch how that fits. So you see that? And so this will actually go like around here or around here, depending on which direction you want to do it. I usually go the other way. And what happens is this little thing allows it to line up nicely. You see that? And then it bridges the gap around it. So it works really nice. I don't even know where he got this thing, but it was nice of him to do it. John's always been very good to us. And he sends us wind socks. The wind sock, we used to get the cheapest ones you could find, and I think the ones he's getting us are real cheap too, but they've held up a little bit better.
Yeah, they've held up a lot longer.
So, and they don't sunwash as bad as the Hobby King ones, because we should do. Yeah. I actually have a few Hobby King ones. They're fine, but they don't have any good fixture. This thing comes with like a little collar, like almost like a keychain clip, and then we clip it onto a pole we made. All right, so before we flip this over, just gonna double check here, double check here. Everything feels good on those. Those are not gonna be having a lot of loading on them. They're just, the air passes by them. Obviously the wings are good. We've tightened these, we've tightened these. Everything's good. We're at the point now where we need to flip this plane over and just admire how beautiful it is, and it is just that. Absolutely gorgeous. Be super careful when you plug in a plane the first time that you're gonna have room for clearance of your retracts. Generally speaking, on newer planes, the retracts have to be cycled before they'll function. On older planes, if you're watching this and kind of following along, maybe you got one that was from a hobby shop, and you're just kind of following along to see what we did, you may actually have the older setup, and they will sometimes come out right away, depending on your switch condition. So my recommendation is make sure that you have clearance. Show the people what that looks like. On this plane, see how it is? Or put the plane upside down until such a time you know that it's gonna open properly. So we've left the lid off, or the canopy, which, by the way, one thing in terms of scale on this plane looks cool, but compared to the 80, are you kidding me? So I just wanna be full disclosure. We try not to beat up planes that are at different price points because they're meeting price points. You have to consider that. This plane is a lot cheaper than the 80, okay? So don't expect it to look as good as the 80 because you'll be very disappointed. Now, this plane looks good. It looks great in the sky. It flies good. It's relatively easy to land for an EDF jet. It's also got safe. It's got all the bells and whistles that you're gonna want, with the exception of, I don't think it does reverse thrust. If it does, we're gonna add it, and we will show you how to do that too. We are not gonna actually install the stars, are we? Or we're gonna do that off camera. We might do that off camera, because look how many, show them real quick. By the way, the manual doesn't show where to put them, does it?
I haven't gotten past page like 2
I don't think they did. Oh, look, this one's updated. It actually shows the AR631 in there. Oh. By the way, if you're getting a plane and it's been in a hobby shop for a long time, get onto horizonhobby.com, go to the video description, click on the link like you're gonna buy it, okay? No, I'm not trying to trick you. Just scroll down and they have the technical documents right there. And you can look at a current manual, okay? And it will help. But if you have an older one, you probably have the appropriate manual for the older plane. So just keep those things in mind. Okay, also AR636B is a humongous pain in the butt to reprogram to do flaperons, but it can be done. I highly recommend that you don't do that. Enough said about that, because I've done it, and yes, it's in this playlist. We'll go ahead and put this with the playlist on the Gen 1 or the version 1 or whatever, the V1 of this same plane. So we'll pause, get cleaned up, and come back for radio setup. Then we'll get those linkages and CG and all that stuff done. Okay, so we're gonna mark the CG next. We put all the decals on the tail, and then we put this decal here. I just picked number 1. I don't even care what the numbers mean. And you just kind of straddle those here, but you don't see it on the box anywhere, so we just kind of had to figure it out on our own. Okay, so 90 millimeters. Okay, so there's 90, close enough at least. Use a pair of calipers and you can go from this edge back to where 90 is. And I'm gonna test it with the gear down, but for now I'm gonna have the gear up because the battery hasn't energized it yet, so it's not gonna, no real good way to get those down. You can actually unplug them and use this XBC battery checker to retract your gear, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just wait until you've got them opened. Okay, so then 110, that's a 20 millimeter range. That's a big range. Okay, so we're just getting that right to 110 or, you know, real close to it. Okay, so I'm just making a little bump. The bump is actually pretty nice, but I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger in a second. So it's like my pilot hole. Okay. So you can see that's a big range.
Yeah, it is.
It's like almost an inch. And that's because when you fly these jets, there's a big disparity from one pilot to the next on what they like. Okay, so I'm gonna make this black and I'm gonna make it a little bit deeper by just marking it this way. You may have other methods. Everybody always suggests different methods to me. This is the method that we've been doing for years and had good success. Doesn't mean it's the only way. There's 4,000 ways to skin this cat, and you can pick the way you prefer. In my case, I like being able to easily see it, easily identify it, and easily implement a CG mark. Now, we haven't actually tested the CG, and we're not gonna be able to do that for a little bit, so let's just not even worry about it, but it is marked and ready to go. So now, as you can see, the tail looks so sweet with all those really decals. Cool. And then of course, this looks sweet with those decals. So very happy with that. Off camera, we also dealt with a little bit of an issue with our nose. I don't know if you guys remember, but my tape was kind of screwed up. We were having trouble. We noticed it wasn't like snapping closed. So we pulled the magnet off of this side and made sure we dropped it in there so it stuck to it with the magnetic pressure. I almost felt like it was repelling it. It's very strange. Not run into that before. So we just kind of fiddled with it a little bit and got it right. Sorry that was off camera. It just kind of happened while we were doing the decals. So I said, whatever, such a small issue. So I just peeled it off with my fingers, dropped it in whatever way it fit, put a little bit of glue on that side, put a little glue on this side, stuck it in. Oh, we let it sit for like 5 minutes while we were doing decals. Stuck it on, pulled it back off, let it stick. That didn't work, so we used needle nose pliers to pull it off, kept it in the correct position, stuck it here, used 2 pieces of tape. I mean, it was not a big deal. So if you guys have that same problem, we haven't had that issue in the past. It's kind of a strange thing. So we're assuming that was a fluke on ours. And you could see that tape was really nasty on there. So it must have been something that they tried to resolve and they didn't get it resolved right. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is radio setup. Now, the last time we set this plane up, I think we did it on the DX18.
Probably.
It may have been the DX18. If it wasn't the DX18, it was the NX6. So this NX8 is gonna be great for this. We have plenty of channels. NX6 would do this just fine. But if you're in the market for a transmitter and you're looking for a spectrum transmitter, I'd highly recommend the 8. The 8 is that sweet spot between still relatively cheap, and I know when you see the price, you're gonna be like, Brian, that isn't cheap. I get it, okay? But it's still relatively cheap compared to the NX10, which has 2 additional channels, and it also, I think it has sliders. So very handy to have, but do you need it for all the planes that are out right now? Technically, no. Not a lot of the planes that we've done. Now, if you wanna get into the more advanced mixing and things like that, where you're doing televons and flaperons, and still using safe and still using gain control and things like that, then you may thrust reverse on a retract equipped plane, then you may need to get the NX10. But I'm not recommending it right now because there is a big jump in price from NX8 to NX10, and you can do almost everything you need with this. Now, NX6 is quite a bit cheaper, but you technically get 7 channels. So you can fly most of the stock, bind and fly, safe, flap equipped with retracts on the NX6. And you're like, but that's not enough channels because you got the 7th channel. It's not a full channel. It's a partial channel. And the way that works is you basically have the on and the off condition, but not every discrete position in the middle. I don't know if I even buy that. Some people have mentioned it to me, but here's the thing. Just use that channel to turn safe on and off, or put it for the gear or something like that. You can make those assignments as you see fit. The NX8, you got full discrete channels. You got 8 of them, okay? So getting to the point, this is where we turn on the transmitter. Throttle cuts on, make sure your knobs are in the center. Okay, it comes up. Okay, so the last plane we've flown was the Sirius 80. We can click these both. It will bring us to our model setup, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna click, go to function list, scroll down. This is system setup. We can disconnect RF, that light shuts off, then we can go to model select. We're gonna click, and this is where you look away for a second. The reason you do that is because sometimes we have early releases we can't share yet because we have NDAs with some of these companies. Add new model. Okay, after you click add new model, it brings up this. You can choose what type of model here, or you can go later and change it. But just keep in mind, if you do change it later, you're gonna lose all your settings. So create. Takes a second, you'll note, then it's gonna beep. See? Okay, so now we can go down to model type. This is where you would change it if you wanted to change it if you picked the wrong one. Make an acro. The reason I know that is because, first of all, we've set this one up before, so we kind of know that. But also, if you go to the page like this, this is if you're doing a plug-in fly. It's gonna help you set it up. About 3-minute flight time, by the way. And they're recommending a 2200, or excuse me, a 32 through 4000 30C 6S pack. We're gonna be using a 4000 6S, but we happen to have a 50C in that size class. It's a Gen 1, so we have the balance lead. You can get Gen 2s and 30C, that's fine on a 4000. I would recommend the Gen 2 on jets because the extra bulk of the balance lead does sometimes cause problems. But if you're gonna do like a Guniac afterburner or an RC Geek afterburner, they both make great afterburners. RC Geek thinks his is better, Guniac thinks his is better. I'll let you guys decide for yourself. I like both of them, they're both good. So anyway, we've done RC Geek stuff and we've done Guniac stuff. Guniac makes a good afterburner for this and we have reviewed it. So it was on our Gen 1. And yes, you can follow that. You can find it in the playlist for this plane all you have to do is just go to the playlist and just look. You'll see it. It's right there. It does glow through a little bit. So if you're going to do that one, you may want to put the aluminized tape inside or spray silver spray paint inside of there. Just kind of pack it with some paper towels so you don't get the EDF covered in paint, and you just hit it with silver spray paint, and then that will actually block out a lot of that light from getting out. Okay, very easy install. You can watch. It's kind of a pain to get the wires through, but it's an otherwise easy, simple setup. Okay, if you use a Gen 2 pack, you won't have that balance lead, so you have to use a second LiPo. That's a small LiPo in 3S size or 4S size. I can't remember what it is. Watch the video, you'll see. And also, Horizon and Guniac are both working on some adapters that will take it from, this is an EC5, and we have an IC3, or excuse me, an IC5 over there. That's an IC5. So that has the smart plug, but it will still pass through this connector here. Okay, so this is fine. You can use an EC with an IC. And there is no compatibility issues there, but you won't get all the smart data collected from that smart pin that doesn't exist. Okay, you'll note that on the 80 millimeter, you get the smart pin and all. You have the full suite of all the smart technology. You have every cell's exact voltage as you're flying, which is really nice on EDF, so you can get longer flight times because you know what you actually have, and that awareness doesn't necessarily make the battery last longer, it just makes you aware of it, so you can respond accordingly. Okay, all right, so we were talking about where to look. Oh, is there an addendum in here? Is that an addendum? Oh, I thought it was an addendum, sorry guys. Okay, so this is the installation stuff. This is computerized transmitter setup is what we were looking for. That's on page 4. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this over so that people aren't distracted by other things. Okay, so reset all programming to a blank acro. Yes, also known as make a new model. Okay. They're gonna talk about the different rates. I don't do high and low rates. You guys might do high and low rates, and that's okay if you do. If you look down a little bit, it's got the throttle cut set to -130, and that's actually okay. If you decide to do that, I'm fine with that. I usually try to do -100 if possible. Gear channel to reverse, okay? So that's the way that they're gonna come out. It's not the reverse on like actually producing reverse thrust.
Right.
Okay, so then we're gonna be treating this like a DX18. Okay, because at the time of release, I don't think they had the NX out. So you see the IXs are down here. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. So Expo, we'll set the Expo to our standard configuration, and then you guys can adjust accordingly. Okay, so model select, model name. So this is where we go into model name, and it says 61 : space, and then this is where you can click. I have the legacy keyboard turned on. Yours might have a full keyboard. It's a little bit more challenging to use in my opinion. So I like the legacy keyboard. You can change that in system setup. Just go to your system setup, scroll over to a couple screens. You'll see keyboard, and you can go to the legacy one. Okay, so click and then scroll. And then when you're done clicking, you scroll to the next one and so on and so forth. So we'll do that and come right back. Okay, so when you're doing your setup inside of this model name, sometimes it's kind of awkward because you want to insert some value. So you highlight the value and you can scroll over to this weird character that looks like this. That's take away a character. That's insert a character. So look, there, see that? So it's not like using the insert key. It takes a little bit more effort, but you see, like if I wanted to add in the word Thunderbirds, whoops, then you can just scroll in and do that. Okay, so just so you can see, I wanted to show you that. And then if you want to take one away, right like that. Okay, so we'll come back in a minute. I'm gonna type in the word and we'll come right back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so we've got this set to say F-16 Thunderbird 70 V2, and we're out of characters. So that worked out pretty good. The reason we do that is because we want to know which revision it is and also the size. And EDFs are sized by, like EDF equipped planes are typically going to be sized by the size of the EDF and not necessarily by the size of the wingspan, which is otherwise typical within most RC companies. They're going to say like, this is an 1100 millimeter, whatever. And actually, I don't even know. I think this one might be 1000 millimeters, which I don't remember. Oh, they missed a staple in the book. That's why it's like that. Look, there's no staple here.
Oh.
That's weird. I haven't seen that ever before. Yeah, so it's 813 millimeters wingspan, but it's quite long. It's about 1,258 millimeters from tip to tail, okay? So that's pretty cool. Okay, so continue on to the radio setup. We need to now set up the aircraft type. Okay, so aircraft type, the wing is set up as normal and the tail is set up as normal. This is where you would change it if you were going to set up flaperons, but just keep in mind flaperons is a little bit more involved because you have to actually separate the Y cable out of the this mess here. Okay.
Oh.
It's a lot cleaner than the last one I had. So we'll scroll to next. We're going to change this. Do we have an F-16 in here? I don't think we do. Yeah, that's good enough. We'll put the Hubu in there. Now, F mode is flight mode setup. Okay, so I'm going to click into flight mode. I'm going to set one switch. I'm just thinking out loud here. We need gear. We need flaps. This will probably be flight mode. Okay. So I'm going to set it to switch D, and it allows for 3 flight modes. If you were to set this to switch A, it would only allow for 2 modes because it's a 2-position switch. Okay, so switch D. And you can change the corresponding flight mode at this step if you want. Like, see, when you scroll in here, then it moves amongst, and then you scroll down here, it says previous. So position 0, we could set to, see how it changes? You can actually change to different flight modes beyond the 3 that are automatically assigned. This is not where you name it though, okay? So then spoken flight mode, this is where you change the name. Okay, so flight mode 1, 2, 3. So flight mode 1, this we could set to AS3X. So I'll type in AS3X, so A. And I'm just gonna show you this on the first one. AS3X. And then I'm going to double click back. Whoops, dang it. Clear. See how it cleared it all? Okay, so I'm going to hit back. And then I want to change this. See how small that bar is? You got to scroll almost all the way to the bottom to get to it, which is really annoying. And you don't have to do this, but this is just kind of nice because it's something that you get that we didn't ever set up before. See how it says stabilize mode? Like you could pick that, that's fine. But that's actually what she'll say. Then there's safe mode and there's AS3X mode.
AS3X mode.
Okay. Then on this mode, I might just change it to none. Because I might actually make it so you can shut off stabilization. But why would we do that?
You probably won't.
Well, then I don't want it to make it say none. But I'm just going to show them how to do it. Okay, so like you guys may want to use this for something else. Okay. The other thing is you could have another mode in here that's like slow flight mode or something like that. And then all your trims, you can make your trims independent of each other in flight modes. See it clears? So that's just like none for stabilization. And then there's another one where it's like stabilization off.
It'll take her forever to say.
I know, stabilization off.
Well, there's just off.
Yeah, but off what? So I'm just looking down here. Stabilization mode. Agility mode, waypoint. And this is just, I show you guys this so you can kind of see that there is some choices. And also you can turn safe off, which is something that we used to not be able to do. Absolute position, we're getting close. Autonomous mode, definitely not that. Absolute position. Oh, experience mode, safe mode. I know there's one that says stabilization off. We could do it. Man, but I don't want panic in the middle. That'd be terrible. See, there's stabilization mode again. But you guys, if you haven't already seen this whole list, this is what it looks like. I guess we can just do off. That's fine.
At least that's fast.
AS3X mode. Okay, then you can go in here. You can change that to, I'm gonna make this safe. Now this does not in any way assign that to safe. We're just making our labels because we're going in order of the menu structure. Okay. Then we'll scroll down to where it says safe mode. Safety switch off. Oh, I was just noticing that for the other one. And yes, I have set up my flap switch to act as a flight mode switch, by the way. And you can have different, getting close, there we go.
Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode.
Cool?
Makes sense.
Yep, okay, so we'll hit back. Then we're not gonna mess with channel sign. We're not gonna mess with utilities and all that. We're gonna hit back.
Off. Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode. Off. Safe mode.
Pretty cool.
Off. AS3X mode.
So now what we need to do is we need to go to servo setup, and what they've referred to in this manual is they have said that we need to flip
Gear.
Okay, so travel, go to reverse, and reverse it. Okay, so that's already set to A, and that's fine. I like it to be on A. And then we have to set up throttle cut. I'm gonna flip my switch H to tell it which, oh, dang it, I accidentally hit the scroll bar. Okay, so we've acknowledged that. Now with the throttle moving up, you can see it's not changing. Then when I shut off throttle cut, I'll put it about like that. You can see it's live. Live and working, off or cut. Okay. And we don't use these other settings, by the way. It's just gonna confuse you. They suggest having this to -130. Okay. Then, timer. They suggest a 3-minute timer. Goodness gracious. 3 minutes with 1 out on. Okay, on an EDF, you're gonna be in the throttle a lot. You need 1 out on. So what that means is, with your throttle cut on or off, it's gonna start. If you go over 25%, it's gonna start the countdown. Then let's go change this. I don't want any warning at 1 minute. I don't want any warning at 20. I just want a countdown, which is voice. Then expiration, I want tone and vibrate. Then every minute thereafter, we'll do a tone. Okay. So you can see the timer started. If I clear it, it's gonna immediately start. And if your throttle's up and you hit clear, that's interesting. Okay, so throttle hold is on. Dual rates and expo. Okay, my standard setup is very simple. I'm gonna change it to switch F. We're gonna go like 5. Then we're gonna go like 10. Then we're gonna go 20. And we're gonna reduce the rates down to like 80, 85, okay? Whoops, set this to switch F and the exact same configuration. 5, 10, 20, and reduce the rates down to like 85. Now, normally I'd do 90, but I want to do a little extra because it's a jet. It's a little faster. Switch F, 5, 10, and then 20. And reduce the rates down to 85. Okay, so that's my most expo and the most deadened stick that you're gonna have. That's where I'm gonna start. And this is the most exciting, the least expo. So we start in the middle, we have somewhere to go if it's not enough, and we have somewhere to go if it's too much. Let's start there though, okay? It's kind of the same way I always do it. Okay, throttle cuts on, you have to set up. There is no flaps, so we don't need to set up flat mode, okay? Flat mode is not gonna be needed. Oh, I was saying flaps earlier, but we could actually make the assignment for this to this.
But is that a 3-position switch?
Yeah, flaps. So let's show them how to do that. So all you have to do is go to system setup. Again, my apologies, guys. And then go to the flight mode setup. You see how it says switch D, B, done. Look how easy that was.
Safe mode. AS3X mode.
She takes a while.
AS3X mode. Off. Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode.
Okay, so anyway, now that we have the radio setup part essentially done, we can bind. Why do we do the radio setup first? Because you want to be able to control the plane. It's very important to be able to control the plane. So I'm just pressing the power button to turn it off. The way we bind these new planes is super easy. You don't need a bind plug, but you can use a bind plug. There's a button on here. It's the Spectrum logo, so you just press it. You guys hear that? Okay, so that's what we're going to be pressing. We're going to try to use the same exact button or the same exact method that we've used on some of the other planes, and we're just going to plug in the battery, and then it's going to be ready to receive the button press. But you don't have to do weird things where you're like plugging in, doing this, pulling that out, and weird orders, because the assignment for Safe Select is done differently in some of the newer planes. Now, some of them is done the old way, but it just depends on how you do your bind. Okay, so let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just see how this works. Okay, you see what I'm doing? I'm taking these and I'm just getting them out of the way. So I'm actually gonna just real carefully put this with the smooth side down so it doesn't mar the finish on the plane. By the way, there is plastic along these edges, and that keeps this from getting dinged up, which is really nice. It is heavier than foam, by the way, so there's a trade-off, and the trade-off is that it's heavier. That should keep it out of the way. And by the way, if you think your battery is gonna be here, you haven't played with these planes much. That battery is gonna basically be all the way back, so we're probably gonna have to try to figure out how this is gonna work. I don't like, this is a problem on this configuration. And you'll note that I'm probably gonna end up having to put my battery sideways. But you gotta be very careful about your antenna, okay? That antenna comes out in a really dumb spot on this particular model, because where that antenna comes out, it could be reversed. And it would have taken Spectrum, like Horizon, no extra effort to put it the other way, I don't believe. But we have actually had to modify some of our F-16s to put the battery like this to get it far enough to get the CG right. In this case, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and hope we can do this. Note that this wire comes out halfway through the pack, okay? See how it's kind of coming out? This is a big heavy duty wires. That's the discharge lead, this is the balance lead, okay? This is a Gen 1 pack, so this would be noticeably absent on a Gen 2 pack, okay? So you'd have one less thing to deal with. Plus, you see how that sits above the antenna, but this is still allowed to run into it. So a couple different things you could do to protect your antenna, because you don't want that to crimp. It will ruin your antenna, and it could prevent your plane from continuing to fly because you might lose signal. Okay, you can tuck it down here like this. See how I've done that with my thumb? Then you can tape it in position. That's one way. Then you can put a little bit of hot glue on both sides to give something that guards that. Okay, so you just need to build up a little material to make it so that you won't be running into it. Okay, you can also put some foam here and just leave a gap there. Then when the battery comes to compress against it, you're fine. Keep in mind, that's a coax cable. So there's a sheath on the outside, then there's some plastic, then there's a conductor that goes to the center, okay? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. There's a sheath, then there's like a coil that's outside. Then there's another piece of plastic as an insulator, then there's the actual antenna. So there's two things going on there. That's why when you plug on those satellite remote, the antennas go on top of, and then there's a pin in the middle. This is a conductor and the pin is a conductor, and it goes on the top and it nests on there. You can see that through the plastic right there. Okay, so it kind of clamps on. You're not gonna be able to see from that angle probably. You have to look right there. There we go. You see that? That little case, that little piece of brass goes around the outside and it sandwiches. And then there's a pin in the center that makes contact as well. All right, so you just want to, the moral of the story is protect your cable. There's another trick that works really nice to protect antenna cables. We've had really good luck with it in the past, but then we've also had, I mean, we've never not protected a cable, but we have had easier times on other planes, some planes. So you see how this sits on top? There's one trick you can do, and that is to take and just make a cut all the way along and then lift that out of the way carefully. You see what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a notch, okay? That notch is gonna allow us to force this antenna into the notch. You see how it's already holding it? Okay. And so you don't wanna use the X-Acto knife to push it in there because you'll probably cut the cable. This is one of those things where one could make the argument that this should be done already for you. Okay, but you know, some people don't get so particular about their planes. And now other people get like insanely more particular than me. Okay, I'm gonna get my flat screwdriver. I think that'll be the more appropriate one here. Just be careful you don't damage your cable, because that's sort of a self-defeating exercise in futility, rather. There you go. See that? You're gonna get back here, you're gonna be out of harm's way then, okay? You see what I did? I just kind of chased that down into the foam where it's nice and safe. Should be no problem. And then if we are concerned, we can take some hot glue and build up a little bit of material here, and that'll protect that antenna, okay? Again, it's not like you have to do some of these safeguards, but some of you guys tell me that you have problems with stuff, and I don't have those same problems. I have a lot of the same problems you do, but just not some of them. Maybe it's got to do with this step or that. So if you don't do the steps, then I guess I'm not sure what to tell you. Okay, so we're gonna drop this in here. Now let's look and study how that sits. The balance lead, yeah, see? So the only thing we have to watch out for is just bumping into that too hard, okay? Also, we need to make sure the canopy can collapse all the way down. So let's take a look at that. I'm suggesting it's gonna sit here. I would love to be wrong, but it's gonna sit there. So just for grins, let's try putting it in its normal home, which is down here with the straps right on the center, okay? Let's just show you how well that works, okay? So that's down there. This happens to be one of my older batteries that does have Velcro, okay? Now, I'm not gonna totally Velcro this up, but I'm gonna get at least one Velcro on there because then we can do all our radio setup and come back to this later when we do CG testing. But let's just go ahead and throw that on there, just like you would think it's gonna go. And then you guys can laugh with me, not at me, with me, about how terribly it works, okay? Because you've already seen what's gonna happen. You know it's not gonna work, okay? Yes, that is gonna mar the finish. Show them, I just marred the finish when I did that. Luckily, it's inside. See that? Mm-hmm. So it's just scratched right there. And that's just what you're gonna get when you take and run those. Okay, so now watch, see this? It's opened. There's a little bit of a relief. Watch this. Nice. I wonder if that got changed from the first version because that never worked before. That never fit before. Never. I would be so happy if they fixed this. That means they changed the center of gravity by adding some extra counterweight somewhere, or they reposition things. My understanding is this mold is exactly the same. Okay, so first thing, throttle, stick down, throttle cut on, bind switch, you know where it is. The bind switch is on the transmitter and on the receiver, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and lay everything aside. We don't need to worry about the CG just quite yet. So now we're gonna energize this for the first time, show the people what happens. Oh my goodness, that's such a pain to get plugged in. Nothing, right? Now press this once. Okay, press it a little bit longer. It goes into bind mode. Now, I've learned my lesson. Come over here. See how far we are from the plane? We're like all the way across the room, okay? So Press and hold this. Press and hold this. Let go of that. Binding. That's gonna fail. Okay guys, so we're gonna go a little bit further. We'll go into the living room. So now I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll down while it's still on and go to bind. Then I'm gonna hit bind. Gets it. And as you can see, things are waking up. So it's not ready to fly. Don't worry, we don't have the elevators hooked up. Right. So just to be clear, the rudder goes the correct direction, rolls. I'm just checking, move the stick this way, it goes up, it goes down, you know which way it's gonna roll. Move it that way. Elevators are not hooked up, so it's obviously not working. Yaw left, yaw right, and gear. Good, we've cycled once, now it's toward our belly. Okay, so that would be down, that's the correct position, right? Up, as in we're flying, down as though we're landing. Then, yaw left, yaw right, everything's working there. And yes, there are oleos on here, which is super cool, and that's soft spring now too, that's good. Then, same thing with the mains, they're a little bit more firm. I love the landing gear on this plane, but I love the 80mm way more because these are very beautiful and very cool, especially in this price class. But the thing is, the ones on the 80 are so scale looking and they work even better. Okay, so now that we know where things are, we could technically check CG, but we're not gonna do that. Well, let's go ahead and do that.
Gear down.
Put the canopy on, gear down. Okay, now, you'll note that it's kind of hard to get your body in here, but you just gotta make it happen. Okay, there's 2 holes here. I can easily feel where they are. You see what I'm looking for? I'm using my middle finger to go to the back hole. And then I just do this. So that's way nose heavy on the back hole. And on the front hole, let's see how we are on the front hole. On the front hole, we're also way nose heavy. So what did I tell you about the battery, camera crew? Do you remember?
I think I was right.
It's gonna have to move back a lot. Okay, now we have Velcro attached here. Look how much play there is on the nose, that's so cool. So this is one of those times when the 80 is a lot easier because the battery tray is spacious as all get out, okay? So I'm gonna release that. The way you adjust the CG on a plane is generally the best way to do it is to do it with the battery because there's no sense in using counterweight that's just gonna add all up weight to your aircraft.
So are you just going all the way back just to see?
I just know where I already know where it's gonna need to be. That's a little bit hard on the lead, so I'm gonna see if I can put it backward. Nope, can't. Nope, nope. Maybe. Yep, maybe. Maybe. Okay, so I'm putting it sideways, and I'm just gonna bring it back like this. I'm gonna try it, and then we'll see if we need to carve foam or if we have to do anything weird. I'd really rather not have to modify anything to get this to work. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring that across the bundle like that. Then this can be used, if you wanna help brace the way that this thing is, you can drop that under there. You can pull this tight like that, and you can use that as another point to keep it from slipping forward, okay? So obviously we're not flying just quite yet, but I'll show you what I would normally do. I would actually kind of lay that under there at the beginning. I take this other strap that's sort of useless because it's too far forward, and it's always been useless, by the way. Okay. Push that down. I try to leave a little tail if I can. Then I can slide this forward, pull it, and then cinch that down, okay? And then what happens is this battery isn't allowed to move forward. See that? See how, I mean, if your battery is being pushed while the plane is not being, that's called crashing. And crashing bad.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, we got a little bit of a bulge here, but I think it would be manageable. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna push down these wires just to kind of resituate the power cord a little teeny bit. And that's actually pretty clean. So hopefully we have the CG good enough. Because if the CG is good enough, then we're golden. And then we'll just leave it. Because yeah, the canopy's going on already. Okay. So this is the other telltale sign. If you have a gap here, your battery's pushing up on the hatch. So you gotta watch for that. All right, so now with gear down, remember the gear on the mains go forward, which shifts your CG forward, and the nose gear goes back, which shifts it back. But the mains, there's 2 bogies versus 1 bogey. Bogey speaking to the thing that goes down to where the wheel is, okay? So that means that you have a net shift toward nose heavy when you put the gear in, and that's a good thing. Okay, so on the back holes, we are nose heavy. On the front holes, we are quite tail heavy. That's great. So I feel that the best way to fly this plane is with the back holes being centered to tail heavy. So we're just gonna see how this does, and we'll fly it on a longer runway than what we would ordinarily fly from on a plane this size class. So the key is, right now it's tail heavy here. Right here, it's nose heavy. Somewhere in the middle, it's gonna balance out perfectly. I'm okay with this, but I would rather have it tail heavy here and then balance out perfectly here, or maybe even just a touch back, okay? That's gonna give you an easier time getting this thing to flare for landing, because you have this huge wing surface and this body acts as part of the wing. And what happens is you get in here and you get into this high alpha configuration so you can land, and that slows it down. Then when you touch down, it'll roll and lay out flat, and then it rolls quite a bit. But you can slow it down in the air and then touch down and go. Easier said than done, folks. Okay, so we're gonna flip this plane upside down. And I know some of you guys are saying, it's not that hard, Brian. Okay, whatever. I'm not saying it's not something you can do. But I'm saying for new pilots, it's hard. It's the hardest part of flying a jet, is landing a jet. Because when you go like this, and then you stall, what happens?
Yep.
You have nowhere to go. And it takes time to produce enough thrust to fly out of it with this plane or any plane. Luckily, this thing is powerful, so you don't have that big issue. And that's why you see all these holes all over this plane. Those are cheater holes, so they help to get all that air going across the EDF. By the way, did you show them the EDF?
No,
Look
not
how
really.
beautiful the fan is in that thing. That is absolutely gorgeous. Give him a shot down that tailpipe there. Isn't that just amazing? Mm-hmm. It's just absolutely amazing. So, next thing we got to do is elevators. So you can see the servos are moving, but nothing's happening.
Are you in safe?
Oh, I don't know. Let's check. That's a great point. I don't believe we're in safe, and here's why I don't believe we're in safe, because it's not moving the ailerons. Thank you, camera crew. Good catch. Okay, now I'm gonna give it throttle.
Yep.
Just throttle cut was set to -130. That's why I don't set it to 130, because when I shut off my throttle cut, the throttle came on and it came live. So let's look at this for a minute. So I'm gonna go to throttle cut.
Oops.
And then watch what happens. It's gonna, see? See? So at -100, at -130, the throttle is completely off and out of range. But then in normal mode, when I'm out, oops. See, I'm at -130 or -123. So I'm gonna clear it. Whoops. I'm gonna clear it back to neutral. Okay? Throttle cut's on. Let's talk about this for a minute. We can retrain the ESC, the throttle range. That is why, if this was a prop-driven plane, that would have been potentially dangerous. This is an EDF. You're not gonna get your hand in there while you're doing that, generally speaking, unless you're doing something weird. Which people do weird stuff on radio-controlled airplanes. You know, that's because it's fun, and it's it's like what we wanna do. We wanna do the fun stuff. We wanna do the things that are crazy. So that's why we do RC. All right, so throttle cut's on. We have to unplug the battery. Let's go ahead and just, first things first, let's go to throttle cut, and let's change this to -100. Like it should have been in the first place, Horizon. Okay, -100. Okay. Unplug the battery. Oh, I hate EC5s. IC5s, awesome. EC5s, no bueno. Okay? So we're at -100, walking out, throttle cut's on. So if we go over to monitor, throttle doesn't work and it's at -100. When I shut that off, it's still at -100. Okay? So throttle cut is off. Throttle is now all the way up. You did have to bind it, so it's bound. So now I have throttle all the way up so that we can program the ESC. Plugging in the throttle, or plugging in the battery, I mean. We're bound already, so we don't have to worry about that. Watching for the AS3X dance. Only one dance, by the way. You notice nothing's happened. We're waiting for a chime from the ESC. Whenever you're ready, ESC, be great. Ooh, this might. No.
What?
This doesn't have a smart ESC, does it?
I don't think so.
You'll note that it hasn't made any noise yet. Okay, now listen. All the way down. It's not running. Weird. Okay, now watch this. Throttle. See the throttle stick? Throttle cut works. Throttle sticks all the way down, and there's no throttle. What did we do different? We programmed the throttle range by initiating this plane with the stick all the way up. And then when we're ready to fly, we all the way down. So it learned the throttle range. So now throttle cut at -100 works, not -130. I wish they'd stop doing that. Some of the newest planes, we've run into 2 different times where there was a suggestion for -130, and that's the only times we've seen them because there was just no way to get them to go. I think it might have been like the V1200, super high speed plane, low wing, crazy fast, goes like 140 miles an hour. And you do not want that prop coming alive, and I think it did. Or maybe it was a V900. Either way, you don't want either of them coming alive because that one goes 120 still. All right, so now that we have established what was wrong and corrected it, you can follow those steps. Remember, the only time I tell you to turn on a plane with throttle cut off is when you're programming an ESC throttle range, okay? Throttle cut is back on, throttle cut is tested, right? Not just because of safety. I don't want the thing to fly off of the plane stand and go across the living room, although that would make for a good video, so. All right, plane upside down.
Wait, you're not in safe now, right? That's what we were checking.
I'm not in safe, and I'm not worried about safe.
Okay. Because
I know I'm not in safe. I've also given throttle, so I'm gonna shut off throttle cut. Look at that plane over there. That's hilarious. Okay, throttle cut's back on. I'm gonna clear my timer so I don't have to listen to it. And now you can see AS3X working. It is working, it is working. We'll check directions in a little bit, but for now we know that safe is not working. But if we know that safe isn't working, the way we can tell is because the ailerons are not snapping, trying to right the aircraft. Because of that, we can do this right now, and we can come back to safe in a few minutes. You got that tool over there. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is look at the page that's going to show us where to put the end of these things. Okay. Why did we wait till the end to do this, camera crew?
To make sure that the servos are centered, so you don't have to go back and adjust them anyway.
Okay, so they're suggesting that on the elevator, we go to the outside hole and the second to last hole. So they're suggesting, well, there's only 3. There's only 3. They're showing 4. Whatever.
That is really confusing.
Okay, so we're gonna go into the outside hole.
Okay.
Whatever. You can't fool us that easy, Horizon. So you'll note that going like this and feeding them in, whoops, sorry. If you go like this and you feed them in, look at the alignment issue we're gonna have, okay? So that is a bit of a problem that could have been resolved by putting these on before we put on the horizontal stabilizers, okay? So this is the way you fix that. You take a Phillips screwdriver, this is like a Chinese one, okay? Then you pull this horn off, okay? And I still feel firmly that this is the right way to do it. This is the first, this should not be done before because it's just gonna be in your way, okay? Do you see what I just did there, folks? I put that on upside down. It's an extra step, but that's going to get the alignment of this a lot better.
So it comes out the bottom instead of over the top like that one.
Because if you come out the top, then you have alignment issues, okay? If you come out here, now all we have to do is hold that steady and we can feed this out until it's right. I'm going to go ahead and just, for grins and giggles, I'll go ahead and tighten this in because we know that we're in the right position. You can also make mechanical adjustments that way. You can undo this, move it closer, move it further, but just be careful because you can cause yourself some problems by doing that because it won't throw as much one way as it will the other way. So just be aware of that. Okay, so now I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, which are they put away?
I think you put them away.
We put away the needle nose pliers, so we're going to get those back out. Why do I need needle nose pliers? Because I'm going to hold on to the shaft while I do this so I don't break any of the control horns. Three, 4, 5, 6. Not even close. 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lot. Oh my goodness. 11, 12. If this feels wiggly, I'm going to abandon this effort and then change this one spline tooth back. Okay? But I think we're good. I think we got it now. See that? How it's not flush? I don't like that. There's half a turn more. Ooh, that's pretty darn good. You see what I'm doing, guys? I'm holding this. That's my center gauge, and I'm still pointing the nose down right now. So one more half turn. Oh yeah, that's pretty centered. Let's see what happens when I go half a turn more. Ooh, that's up. Okay, half a turn back. That's pretty much centered. Show the people there, grab that. You feel what I'm talking about? Grab it. Mm-hmm. You feel that? We're looking for flush on the top and the bottom, okay? So go ahead and let go. Feels like it's kind of like in the middle.
It is kind of
between that and this, which is unfortunate. I would say we got to go there, unfortunately. Now, yes, you can use regular needle nose pliers to plop these on and it'll work fine, but I'm going to show you the tool. This is the tool. Oh, sorry, did I pinch you?
No.
Okay. So you'll just line this up right like this. Whoops. Just backward. Done. Now, this also helps you to undo it, if I remember right. But I just wanted to show you that there is such a tool that can be used for this step. Okay, now you could choose to move the elevator at this point if you wanted, or you could just move on to the other one, which is what we're gonna do. You can see, obviously, if you were to try to do that, what's gonna happen? This thing is gonna bend like crazy. And when you're going up, it's gonna bend like even worse, okay? Now, these things will bend a little bit, but you do not want to force them to bend a lot. You are tempting fate big time. Whoops. Okay. So now I'm going to take this, just because I have them now this time, and just go up. And those are spline teeth. That's what I was talking about. These are Metal Gear servos, which is very good. It should be on like every plane all the time, if you ask me. But then again, I would get all features on all planes, and then all planes would be a lot more expensive, and that would not necessarily sell well. So Horizon probably knows a little better than I do on that. I think there should be LEDs and flaps on every single plane, even if they're not necessary. Okay, so you want to get that spline tooth so that this angle here of the control horn at neutral is about the same. Now, there will be disparities between this and that. I'm giving you 100% guarantee they always have a little disparity. You can make up for it right here on that twisty thing, okay? So now I'm gonna take and kind of just run this out a lot because I know I gotta go out a bunch. See how it's hard to even lift it? Okay, so just go, 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 go. And then let's see how ooh, we're getting close. Another half a turn, 1 turn probably. And I'm just grabbing this here, probably another half turn. Now remember, there are some trim adjustments you can make, but there's only so much you can adjust because this and this acting together are like ailerons, okay? Oops, I went the wrong way. What, did I? No, I went the right way.
That was about what you did on the other side.
That's about right.
Turn-wise.
So, if you want to feel, and just tell me what you think about those. Look at the disparity there.
That's
and
pretty good.
For your information, you do have to push this on there kind of, you know, like that. If you just let it slop, it'll move up and down a lot.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of push it in tight. Not like snap it in, but don't snap that in until you're ready. They do not unsnap very easy. And by the way, normally when you snap them in wrong, what's the first thing you do? You take a screwdriver and you undo it here. Well, you can't do that. So you have to undo it here and then reverse engineer it from that point. It's not very fun.
No.
Okay, so now we'll take this little tool and just snap it on. I think I'm doing this wrong. If I do it that way, I don't think I got it right. Yeah, see? Gotta go the other way. Yep, that worked perfect. Okay, so now let's also, case in point, I use standard tools as much as I can because I try to show that you don't necessarily have to have a specialty tool like this. But to be frank, these things probably cost like $6 or $5 or maybe even less. So it's very, if you're gonna do it a lot, you might as well buy them. Okay, elevator up, elevator down, cool. All right, so now that we have that done, we can go ahead and flip the plane, put it on its own wheels. Now we need to get safe figured out, okay? So we'll go ahead and get the plane stand out of here, get some stuff picked up and come right back. All right, so now that we have everything set up mechanically, elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, nose gear's going the correct direction and throttle's working, and it's not gonna automatically jump when I turn it off, the throttle cut. There's throttle, okay, throttle cut's on and tested. Everything's tested, we're ready to rock and roll, okay? So now we can get AS3X working, and I'm gonna show you how to do that next. So, throttle cut's on. I'm gonna click, can we go from the other side on this? Just because I'm afraid that glare is gonna be terrible. So let's click. We're gonna scroll down to forward programming. Connecting, this is where it uses telemetry data to transfer information from the receiver to the transmitter, okay? Gyro settings, save select. Flight mode 1, flight mode 2, flight mode 3. Actually, I need to tell it what channel. See? Now watch this. See how it says mode 3, mode 2, but then it doesn't say mode 1. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm gonna figure it out right now. Save select is on. Yeah, now it says mode 1. Now it says mode 1. Now it says mode 2. Now it says mode 3. Okay, there we go. Just keep in mind, some of these actions are a little bit weird. I'm listening off. So mode 2, still auxiliary 2, AS3X is off, safe is off.
AS3X mode.
Oops, I have to turn it on there. Okay, so safe is on, safe is off, AS3X is off,
Safe mode.
AS3X is on. Wait, do I have that backward now?
Off. AS3X mode.
Yeah, you have safe.
I got it
mode there.
backward. That's right. Off.
Off. AS3X mode.
On. You see, it's just sometimes this stuff doesn't always work as smooth as you want it to. So AS3X and safe is on. Takes a second.
Off. Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode.
Well, I can just switch that. It's not a big deal. I'm going to show you how to do that. Watch this. Servo setup, travel, reverse. That was aux 2 as we were playing with.
Safe mode.
Okay. Now remember, auxiliary 2 is not necessarily flight mode 1 or 2 or 3. It's switch assigned. So assignments of switch, you can set your flight mode to this switch, and you can also assign auxiliary 2 to change on this switch. And I think that's what we're struggling with right now, is that the transmitter's like, okay, which one am I responding to? Am I responding to auxiliary position 1, 2, 3, as in 0, minus 100, 0, plus 100? Or am I responding to the switch condition? And so what I need to do is I'm gonna show you a trick. So if you go down to system setup, disconnect your RF, go to channel assign. I wanna de-assign auxiliary 2 from B, okay? I just inhibit it, click inhibit, okay? Now I can walk out, walk out. Now watch this. Still changing. Okay, now let's go back to forward programming. Now that we've deassigned auxiliary 2 from this switch. See, it's not changing. That's what we want. Now we can go back into forward programming, gyro settings. Now it shouldn't be as weird and schizophrenic about it.
Safe mode. AS3X mode off. Safe mode.
Okay, so safe select is on, off,
AS3X mode.
on. I don't want it there. I want it to be tied to auxiliary, the flight mode. Maybe we do have to attach it to that.
Safe mode. AS3.
And part of the reason that this is different is that this is, okay, so on the Air 631 and the Air 637, the Air 630, the Air 637 TA, which is in the bind and flies, the T is not in the bind and flies. The Air 637 T has a barometer, which gives you vario if you want it. You don't have to use it, you can turn it off, but it's cool. Boop. It beeps up, beeps down, depending on whether you're gaining altitude or losing altitude at a specific rate. It's very cool. It's one of the coolest features of telemetry, in my opinion. So that's Air 637T. Air 637TA is a bind and fly, so it comes with everything but the barometer function, but you do get full range telemetry. Whereas the Air 631 is flyby telemetry, which means like within a certain range, you'll get all the telemetry data. But if you're like way, way, way out there, you won't get it. You'll just get parts of it, okay? It has to do with the signal strength on that part of it, okay? Also has to do with the number of antennas, because the way that Spectrum has decided to assign some of the hardware profiles in these things. Okay, so Air 630 has no antenna. Air 631 has an antenna, but they're both Safe Select equipped and AS3X and Safe equipped, okay? The Air 637T and the Air 637TA are both Safe and AS3X equipped, but the TA loses the barometer, okay, in the bind and fly. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you more than it needs to, but the idea is that Safe Select assignments have changed from where we just do sticks down and in and then wiggle the stick so that we can tell it what we want, okay? So what I want to do is I'm actually going to go back out, and honestly we're kind of in the middle ground where we're still trying to figure out what plane does what. So my apologies for that. Channel assign. So I'm going to put this back to auxiliary 2 is going to be set to switch B, okay? Now I'm going to try something different. Throttle cuts on, sticks down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look, see? So I did the assignment the old way.
She's going to say it like 10 times.
She's talking, okay? So AS3X mode is on. Safe is on. Okay? How do I know?
Because you have less throws in safe
Yep.
mode.
Roll, AS3X or off, I don't know. Now that we've made that assignment, let's test safe. Throttle cut is on. How do we test safe? We flip the plane up. It's the easiest way. You can also look at the amount of throw. Trying to find level. Look at the elevator. The elevator's all up. Trying to find level, okay? Trying to find level, okay? So we know that we have AS3X and safe on. So let's turn off safe. AS3X only is only armed after you give 25% throttle. So throttle cuts on. Aileron up, aileron, elevator up, elevator down, rudder left, rudder right. I can see it, you guys can't. I'm looking down the edge and I want to see it go like this or like this. I want to see that go up or down. These ones I can't see, but I can. It's very subtle, but I can see up, down. Now I'm looking for this, up, down. So when I move the wing up, I want the aileron to resist. Aileron to resist. That's AS3X, artificial 3-axis stabilization. Safe sensor-rated flight envelope has to do with auto leveling, okay? So now, the easiest way to test that, all that stuff is working, is by basically flipping the plane on its backside and finding the middle point, and it's gonna try to find the quickest route to level. So now that we know that safe is safe. The other way you can look is you can see what the throw is. And then if it goes a ton more, then you're probably in or out of safe, but it's still not a very good test because it's just a quick test and you really don't know what the ailerons are doing when it's sitting on the table like this, okay? So I'm in AS3X mode right now. We know AS3X is working. Also in safe, AS3X also works, so be aware of that. Now I can click and go to forward programming. Let's see what the gyro settings are. So now we have safe select.
Off. Safe mode.
We're gonna go into the menu. Safe is on.
Off.
Safe is off. AS3X is off.
AS3X mode.
But you'll note that it's not going to mode 1. It's going, well, oh, my flight modes are reversed now. Okay, so flight mode 1, safe is on. This is where you can now turn that off.
AS3X mode.
Safe is off, but safe select is on. Very confusing menu structure, folks. So Horizon does a good job of trying to communicate information, but then other times they do a bad job of communicating information. This menu structure is confusing. Safe select is on, but what does that mean? That means it's capable of being activated. Technically, when safe select is on, it's always on. But it doesn't mean that you're in safe mode. It means that it's on. When you reboot this receiver, watch what happens, okay? It's gonna dance twice. Once. Twice. That's what I mean. You'll see. Watch. Safe select is on, but it doesn't mean that safe is on. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you
Safe-
have to have safe select on to have the ability to turn safe mode on.
But really, it's actually the opposite. You have to have safe select on in order to turn safe off. Because safe is on with safe select on until you otherwise indicate that you want it off.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, because safe select is not safe. Safe, full safe is basic. You've got beginner mode, intermediate mode, and experienced mode. Experienced mode being AS3X only, intermediate being limited bank angles, but not auto leveling, and then safe being auto leveling, limited bank angles, and a panic recovery, which is a full different channel. So these are all managed within one channel. This is managed on another channel, okay? You can also add panic to an AR631, but you have to revert to factory defaults. On this particular model and a few others, you have to update firmware on this device with a cable before you're allowed to reverse engineer it to factory defaults and then set up flaperons. If you want them. I'm not gonna do flaperons on this because I've already learned they don't work on this plane.
That was not complicated at all. It made sense.
Two dances. That means safe select is on, but it doesn't mean that safe is active, okay? So, connection failed. That's because you have to have the receiver powered to be in forward programming, but you can exit forward programming at any time by de-energizing the receiver. Elevator up, elevator down. We are in AS3X mode, okay? I can tell from the amount of throw. Now AS3X mode is technically off, but why the heck would you want that? Well, because I want to show you that you can technically do it. For instance, if you had a sailplane, you can throw it up and find thermals because it'll get kicked around in the wind and then you can tell that you're hitting a thermal because the wings they'll do this when you find the perimeter of a high point. Okay, so now safe is on. Look what happened to my throws. Where did they go? Where did they go? You guys see?
Crazy.
Baby mode, safe mode. The other thing that's happening when you're in safe mode is it's gonna limit your bank angles. The way you can visually manifest that on the ground is if you were to hold a stick, camera crew, come over here. You're gonna keep filming and you're gonna hold the stick over like this.
Okay.
Hold the stick in that position. It's gonna limit my bank angles when I rotate this plane to the point where the limit is. You see how it's up on this side? See, that's as far as it's gonna let you tip. Okay? Now, elevator, do the same thing. Pull all the way back. That's as steep as you can fly. Now, all the way down on the elevator. That's as low as you can go. Now let go. Brings you right back. Now, you can also set up panic recovery if you set up safe in an AR-631 or an AR-630 or an AR-637TA or an AR-637T that has been jailbroken, set back to factory defaults. So in order to do that, forward programming, connect, verify your settings by going into gyro settings, save select. You'll note that there is no factory reset here. That's because you'd have to update the firmware to do that. Now let's look at our 3 settings. AS3X is on, AS3X is still on. Safe mode is on, okay? So that is off because we never exited the menu structure and therefore never wrote to memory before we pulled the battery out. Do you remember how we pulled the battery out? Slightly confusing that the modes are reversed from what I expect, and slightly confusing that that flight mode 3 happens to not be the nomenclature that we named it. AS3X.
Yeah.
Off. Safe mode. Off. AS3X mode. Off. Safe.
Okay, now let's look at this. Everything works, everything works, everything gets muted. Okay, this is supposed to be AS3X off. Okay, throttle cut is currently on. I'm turning it off. Definitely enough throttle. Throttle cut's back on. Now we should be able to see no response from AS3X. AS3X is stabilization, not auto leveling. Okay?
Nothing.
AS3X on. Hold on. Throttle cut's off. Okay, throttle cut's back on. Working, 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 working. Nothing. Pretty cool that you can do that and then safe. So why would you need to have safe mode on a plane? Because you can take this plane that you would ordinarily not be, comfortable flying, and you can use safe. When you let go of the sticks, it's going to level. That doesn't mean that it's going to avoid a house or a car or a power line or a tree. It's going to fly straight into it. Okay? So just be aware of that. It is a very critical detail to get your head wrapped around.
It doesn't fly it for you.
It does not fly it for you. So that being said, what a sweet looking plane. I already know I like it because I've had it before, but with the AR-631, we have one more cool detail, and you can see what it would fly like with AS3X off. Now, the other thing is you could use a switch. It's a 2-position switch, or you could use another switch, and you could just not assign the AS3X off in the middle. Okay, typically on a plane like this, I'm not gonna fly this plane without AS3X. Let's just get right down to it. But if I see oscillation, on a full AR-631, I can change the master gain here. I can turn it all the way down. I can turn it all the way up. Let's see if that works. I don't know if it does. AS3X. I'm not noticing a difference, but I can't hear because of the gear. So I'm just gonna hold this plane in a way that I can hold it easily. I'm gonna move it. No difference. Okay, so there's no master gain control, but if you jailbreak that receiver, you can do it. And then you can do master gain. So if you're doing like 100-mile-an-hour pass and it starts oscillating, I can shut off my AS3X. Because when you're going really fast, the AS3X is less necessary. When you're going really slow, it's a little bit more necessary. And so I'm still waiting. It's gonna be so cool when we get speed sensitive AS3X and safe. It's gonna be gorgeous. So anyway, all right guys, hopefully this video was not so long that you decided to stop watching our videos, but the idea is sometimes we stop, we pump the brakes, and we come back to some of the basics for you people that are just getting into the hobby. And I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive because we go so far into the weeds, but the key is most of you don't even know what EDF stands for. If you're brand new to the hobby, it's electric ducted fan. That means that there's a duct around that fan in there. That helps with efficiency, theoretically. It also has to spin really fast, and there are some serious inefficiencies about electric ducted fans in the RC world, but it's really cool because it sounds very realistic, and it's a lot of power, okay? So the other thing is learning the technology with the lipos is very hard. It's a steep learning curve. Really the big thing is 6S, 6 cells in series. That's what S stands for. Not C for cells. C has to do with the discharge rate. Right, I know, confusing too. And then there's also another C rate. There's 2 C rates on this battery. One C rate's the discharge rate, one is the charging rate. Yeah, confusing, right? These things are usually rated at 3 to 5 C on a smart pack. The discharge rate is the 30 C or the 50 C in this case. We have a 50 C pack, meaning that you can discharge it 5 times. Why not 5 instead of 50? Don't ask me. Some of these assumed things are just super stupid if you ask me, but it is what it is. Again, EC3, EC5, different sizes have to do with the amount of discharge. EC5, I believe at one point they might have rated that for a 50 amp current discharge rate, but I don't know that for a fact. I do know EC stands for E-flite connector. IC is the new one that includes that smart pin. And yes, we have chargers over here. If you don't have any of this stuff purchased, this is the charger I recommend right here. This is the one I'm telling people to buy. If you're gonna spend this kind of cash for a single channel with both IC3 and IC5 plugs, just buy this. Like don't waste your money. This is only like 50 bucks more. And yeah, they're expensive. I like that they have a power switch. You can set your auto discharge rate. Auto discharge speaks to how long this battery will stay charged before the chip that's right here starts to automatically discharge it to storage rate, which is 3.8 volts. So when this is charged, it's 4.2 volts per each of the 6 cells. And then what will happen is this will keep them all balanced. So if one drops from 4.2 to 4.19, and then another one is dropped to 4.17, then it's gonna take the 4.9 and bring it over to make them 4.18 rather. And that's the idea, except times 6, there's 6 cells. It's constantly doing that. There is a chip on here on the Gen 2s that will get a little bit warmer than on the Gen 1s, like this. The Gen 1s have a balance lead. You don't even need a balance lead because this thing is so good at staying balanced, hypothetically. That's what their claim is, okay? My claim is that 4,000 milliamp packs, for whatever reason, have been the biggest problem in our entire smart repertoire. We've had more issues with the 4,000 milliamp hour size. I don't know why. In the individual cells. I'm talking 3S, I'm talking 4S, I'm talking 6S. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just that they happen to fit in certain planes like EDF jets. They seem to be battery killers, in my opinion, in my experience, more so than any other type of plane, especially prop-driven planes. So when you buy a plane like this, expect to get less life cycles out of your EDF jet packs, the packs that you're using in your EDF jets. They will tend to puff more, even the expensive, and these are expensive, make no mistake about it. But they're also the best I've ever had. Some of you have had better with other brands, whatever. I can't speak to your experience. I'm just telling you what I've had. I used to buy cheap packs, and now we do all smart packs, essentially, unless they come with a ready to fly, just because they have been so much better. And I mean, like even this pack has a little bit of puff to it. See, it's a little bit rounded on the sides, okay? So we're trying to share these things with you. We're not trying to hide anything from you. And then also along the same lines, we get a lot of batteries, guys. We get batteries sometimes when they send these planes, we get new batteries. So we try to use the best batteries, okay? We're not trying to hide anything. But we do want you guys to know kind of where we're coming from so that you know our rationale for those decisions. So this plane, very cool. We already know it's gonna fly reasonably good. I don't know if I'm gonna fly it reasonably good, but we know that the plane is capable of flying reasonably good. So if you'd like to buy this plane, we have links in the video description below. We think the most equitable way for you to help financially support our channel is to buy the planes if we helped you. You don't have to buy this plane because you want to help us, you know, pat us on the back. I mean, we will let you do that. We're not going to be upset with you, obviously. But the key is, if you want to help support our channel, that's the easiest way to do it. Watching the videos, liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, obviously sharing it with your friends and people that you think might get something out of this video, that does help us. But really, at the end of the day, we need financial support. And the way you can do that is to buy this plane. If you like it. And if you don't like this plane, you want the 80, which is awesome, by the way. It's also quite a bit more expensive, then you can support us in that way. We have PayPal and we have Patreon. Patreon carries a lot of fees for us as creators. And full disclosure, if you give us $10, 2 of it will probably go to fees, close to 2. Sometimes it's closer to, like $1.50. Depends on where your money's coming from, if it's from overseas. But our first month, I think it was like $76 in support. It's a small amount. It's very small. Things start small on YouTube and then they grow to where it's actually manageable and helps to really fund a channel. I think it was like 20 some dollars in fees. And then get this, then they make you pay to get your money out of that fund. So it is kind of, a necessary evil because it's easy for people. And so what we're going to tell you is the truth, and then you guys can make your decisions. So if you decide to support us directly with financial gifts in that way, just be aware that Patreon is expensive for us and it's expensive for you. So that means some of your money that you intend to support us with goes to them. That's fine on our end, but it's just still kind of frustrating. So PayPal, pretty much 100% of the proceeds gets to us, unless of course it's international and then there's some fees that happen there. And that's just, you can't avoid that. So that brings me back full circle. If you're trying to buy this and you're in New Zealand, guys, I'm really sorry. The shipping and things like that do many times preclude you from supporting us by buying this plane. But if you still want to support us, an easy way to do it is Patreon or PayPal. So if you want to throw us 10 bucks or 15 bucks or something like that, or you want to do a monthly support where you're like, I can only do like $5 a month because I'm tight on my RC budget, but we really would like to support you guys because we know you put a lot of effort into this. That's how you can do it. The reason we go into so much detail in this part of the video is because it is a fairly new thing on our channel. Also, a couple things to be aware of is we're starting a Facebook page. We're trying to get a website ready because we know that our links are, how do I say this? Challenging for some of you to find, and they're challenging for us to keep up to date. I'm going to give you a quick example. In the course of a week, I might reply to 2,000 comments, okay? That in and of itself is a lot more work than the videos. But we recognize that a big part of the reason you come to Brian Phillips RC is so you can have access to Brian Phillips, so that I can help you answer questions and really kind of help you work through some decisions. Like if you're trying to decide between this or the F-16 64 millimeter or something like that. Or a really popular one right now is, hey, should I get the Carbon Z Cub SS 2.1 or should I get the Carbon Z Cessna 2.1? Or should I get the Draco? Or should I get the Beaver, the FMS Beaver 2.0? I can help you work through those decisions, but ultimately a lot of that comes down to what you like best, but I'll still help you. The other thing too is that takes a lot of time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of, use the Facebook to help direct people over here to YouTube where we can give them the full package deal. So if you're asking questions on Facebook, I apologize. It's not really, that's not what we're going to do. So don't expect it. And we don't mean to put anybody off by that, but we just want you to be aware of it. Also on the website, we're going to try to have the links better organized, more searchability, and a little bit easier for us. Because like I said, on a given week, we do all those comments. And then basically at the end of the day, we have to go back and then fix links constantly because we have 1,600 plus videos right now and growing, obviously. So what that means is when one of our affiliates, like BitGo, just redid their website, okay? We had to go through hundreds and hundreds of videos just to get the top most popular ones and the top most recent ones so that you guys, when you're looking to buy something and help support us, when you follow that link, then we'll get credit for that. And the way they do that is just through the cookies from following the link. So it's nothing crazy. It's not like some big data mining scheme. But the idea is they know that we directed you to that website, and then they give us a little pat on the back, and that's how we financially support this channel. So anyway, full disclosure, we try to be really transparent about the way that we're earning on YouTube. And honestly, the earnings on YouTube have taken many years, not many years, it was like five plus years before it was even really something on the radar. So the money that we earn comes from my day job as an industrial scale technician and from being cheapskates for most of our life.
And it's just us. I mean, everything that happens on this channel is you and a little bit of me.
Yeah, right. It's just Megan and I. And then occasionally like our son will fly with us or whatever. It's not like we have staff or anything like that. No. So it's very small beans. When you 100,000 subscribers seems like a lot when you've got 200 people following your channel. I get it. Everybody that has a YouTube channel has been there, believe it or not. And we want to encourage people in that, but at the same time, you have to remember, it's way more work than most people understand. So if you haven't done a YouTube channel, you probably won't get it. And if you are currently doing a YouTube channel and you get it, put it in the comments below, because you get it, and it is nice to get that encouragement once in a while, because we have to deal with the idiots too. Just like you guys that have other YouTube channels, believe me, they come out of the woodwork when you find any traction, any level of success. All of a sudden, that guy's a jerk, or that guy's a liar, or that guy's a thief, or that guy. And it's like, what are you talking about, people? It's like just 6 months ago, I was the best thing since sliced bread. Now you hate me because I have an airplane. Like, that's what I've been doing the whole time. So I'm not really sure exactly what changed. So anyway, at the end of the day, we appreciate you guys. And we know that you're gonna come back for more, because that's what you keep doing. And definitely like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Buy from the links. And if you wanna give us financial support directly, it's available in the video description below, and soon on a website, so it's more organized and easy. And we appreciate you guys. Come back for more.
Hey YouTube, this is the camera crew. The kids and I just got home from an activity this afternoon. Brian's still at work, and they are just working on the first kind of swath of this field of corn to harvest. And I know several people had asked a little while back if we would show that, and it's kind of hard. It's incredibly windy right here today. If you can see our little grass plants moving, so I'm sure the audio is going to be terrible, so I'm probably not going to film very long. And there's a bunch of guys sitting over here in tractors, so I don't know if they care if I'm filming them. So this is corn harvest in the Midwest in mid-October. So they've got a combine and then several grain carts. This is the field that we showed when the crop duster came over. And it's kind of an irregularly shaped field. Most of the stuff close to us, everything is all square fields. This one is kind of an odd shape because it has creek on both sides of it. So it makes it kind of where all the timber is. There's creek that runs through there, so it makes it kind of an odd shaped field. So I think that this blue grain cart is full, and he's gonna come up and dump into the green cart, and then he'll take off to take that up to the co-op. So this is a pretty cool thing for us. We farm with our hay, but we don't do row crop as of right now. So it's really cool for us and for the kids to watch being so close. See, there's the corn. And I don't know if you can tell how windy it is. We keep track of the combine just kind of based on the dust right now. So it is very windy. So he's gonna go all the way up and all the way back. So it looks like he's kind of doing the length of the field. He kind of went through the middle this time, so I might check back in a little bit. I know it's super windy, which is gonna be terrible for the audio. And when he's really far away, there's not much to see. So we'll probably check back in a little bit, or at least show you what the field looks like when all of the corn is out. Okay, YouTube, this is the camera crew, back with another clip from harvesting the field across our road. It is incredibly windy, so I apologize for the audio. You can see the dust. Our yard is going to be full of corn stalks tomorrow. Several people had asked to maybe see a clip of this after another video where we had kind of showed the corn closer up. I think we were down at the road maybe. Oh, see, I don't know if you can see it on the video. It's like it's snowing. You You can see it all shooting out the back of the combine, just the stalk and the leaves. And it's very windy, so that's all blowing this way. And then there's a grain cart next to him. He was filling just a second ago as he was combining. And then they've had 2 grain carts running back and forth. They're both gone right now, that are taking from the blue to take up to the co-op. So it's pretty amazing to watch the field go from planting in the spring. We spend all summer watching it grow and watching them spray and crop dust. And then in a matter of an hour or 2, it'll all be gone. So they're gonna head back up the hill, and we'll probably take one more short clip when the field is done.